I would be so thrilled if you didn't do that.
We got to get out of your system, right?
Say it.
Oh.
Say it.
I guess we're
Say it.
with T-Rexes today.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get going. Everybody, thanks for listening to Untitled Car Project. I'm Rob Spring.
I'm Grant Gonzalez.
Ian Fike.
Jeremy Wolf. Today on the line, we've got James Schoepf of High Octane Dads podcast. James, thanks. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
Yep. Yeah, we're glad that you agreed to join us. Got some stuff to talk about tonight, project cars and podcast stuff, and jump right into it. We'll get into it. I'm really curious, like your High Octane Dads podcast, how did that come about for you guys? Like, what was the catalyst and what's your idea there?
Yeah, so it's interesting because Chris and I, when we first met was, many years ago, I mean, at least a decade, through a Facebook car group for third gen F bodies
nice.
called Mullet Militia.
That's cool. Oh, okay.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, if you're familiar. And
Yep.
so we've known each other, and even before that, back in the thirdgen.org days and stuff. So my first car was a 1986 Trans Am, which I'm sitting right in front of right now.
Awesome.
Nice.
Very good.
And his first car was a 1986 Trans Am, which he still owns as well.
Oh, that's cool.
We're the exact same age. We both got kids. And a couple of years ago, we were supposed to all get together, so a bunch of the Mullet Militia guys. We were all going to meet up at LS Fest because a lot of us were coming from several different places around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And my father-in-law had some health issues. I ended up not going. And then last year, I made it up. Me and my dad went and met Chris and all these guys for the first time, in person. And we really chatted while we were there. And it was just like, man, we like talking about cars, but then also, there's just a lot of stuff that comes with being a dad and trying to make a project car work, and find time for yourself. And it was like, man, we should just do it. And unfortunately, I actually lost my dad back in June.
Mm.
He was supposed to go to LS Fest with me this year.
Oh.
And that was sort of the thing that it was like, man, what are we waiting for? And so we really just decided to kick it into high gear and just make it happen for better or for worse.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that part sucks. That's inevitable
But
part
it's
of
cool
life.
something came of it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And so I ended up actually, I wasn't sure if I was going to go to LS Fest this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, he would have kicked my butt if I didn't go. So I ended up going and had a blast and hung out with all the same guys again, and did some photography and videography and stuff while I was there, and it ended up being a lot of fun. But, definitely miss him. But, I my dad was the type of guy that he would have wanted to make sure that you were out there, doing what you loved and not wasting away.
Yeah, don't waste the time. Just go do it.
Yeah.
I've kind of taken that same tact with my life in the last 5 years, life changes and that kind of stuff. And it's just like, you can't wait. You just can't wait. I see all these people that, I lost like 5 or 6 friends to cancer within the span of about a year and a half.
Wow.
Oh, man.
And that was just like a kick in my butt. Like, man, people wait all their lives. They retire and then die without doing anything they want to do, and I just made that decision right then. It's like, I'm not waiting. I'm just going to do, it might take longer to retire, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I want to do now.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
it is. It's a hard lesson to learn, to lose people like that. But I think it's something everybody should really dig deep and like decide what they want to do early on. Because if you wait, you might not get to do that stuff.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about LS Fest. I mean, I listened to that last show of yours, the LS Fest show, and there was some cool stuff. And I haven't been to one yet. Probably this April. It'll be a West Coast one for me. You went to LS Fest. That's in Kentucky, correct?
LS Fest East. In Bowling Green.
Bowling Green. Oh, it's in Bowling Green. Okay. Awesome. Tell me about that.
Raceway.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So it was funny because I was actually talking with a magazine that wanted me to, send some photos over. And I think they started up between the last LS Fest and this one. And so she kind of asked me my thoughts around LS Fest in general. And it's crazy because there's something there for everybody, first off.
Yeah.
LS Fest has an off-road course where they're running, all kind of wild builds with, big lifts and, these Baja 1000 style things out there running, and it's super cool to go over there. I've only seen bits and pieces of that.
Yeah.
But then you've got drifting, you've got drag racing, autocross, which Chris, my co-host, he did the Grand Champion this year. So they do a lot of autocross and drag racing, both there. And I didn't know until this year, there's actually a track at the National Corvette Museum, which is also in Bowling Green. And so the Grand Champion guys race over there one day, and then at Beach Bend the next, and then they flip-flop.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So, there's something there for everybody. But the funny thing is, like, me doing photography, I really wanted to get as much as possible. And so you end up with like a couple of pictures of a whole lot of different people's builds and things. But what I'm always drawn to are the really unique ones. There's a guy, so being a dad, there's a guy with a truck done up like the Pizza Planet truck from Toy Story.
That's cool.
That's funny.
Sweet. Toyota, I hope.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so there was, there was a Porsche out there with an LS in it. There was, I've got some pictures of that guy, quite a few actually, on the autocross course, old Corvettes. And then of course, a lot of the new ones and a lot of the Gen 5 LT stuff, which is really cool to see. But, I just find myself drawn to, like, the more unique it is. Like there was a 280Z, a couple 240s, a friend of mine that we convoyed up with, him and his wife swapped her Scion FRS.
Cool.
And they drove it from here to Bowling Green. So.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about LS Fest is you're going to find all those unique builds. I mean, our guy Ian right here, he's got an LS in his IS 300, right?
Correct.
The
Yeah.
Lexus.
05, yeah.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So
How many cars do you think were there, James?
Oh man, it'd be hard to say. I know. So in the Grand Champion class, racing alone was, I think, 125 or 140 participants, and then you've probably got, 3 dozen drag cars or something like that. The drag racing is huge, and then just the show cars fill. So I took my car, not this year but last year, and even in the show car area, where I was parked, it took forever to walk to the drag pits. And so there's thousands of cars. It's crazy. And I want to say it's 30, 40,000 people coming through there like on Saturday.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
I may be wrong on that number, but I don't think I am, because it's Friday is great. When you get there, there's still a lot of people, but you can kind of walk around and go where you want to go. Saturday, there's people, they've got walkways, and they do the best they can, but they've got these walkways built, along the sides so that the cars coming through to go to the pits and things can drive by, but the people just spill over into the road because there's just so many folks trying to walk from one end of the show or where the drag racing is to the other end.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
nuts.
Wow.
How hard was it to make that decision to shoot photos instead of bring a car and drive?
So, this may be answering a little more than what you asked.
No,
but
that's all right.
Back when I was around, 12 or 13, I had the opportunity to go to the Gator Nationals in Gainesville to an NHRA race. And this was my biological dad. He had a Pentax K1000 camera. And he just kind of handed it to me and said, "Here, it's yours for the weekend." And I've got pictures. It's funny because I've got a picture, one I took at the drag strip, of a third-gen Camaro from way back then. But I've also got, pictures of John Force on the track and Cruz Pedregon and all these guys racing, and really just love trying to capture that racing even way back then. Yeah. And so while I love my car, my little 1500 going through the mountains to go up to Kentucky was a bit of a dicey trip with a car on the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
So, it was a tough decision only because I didn't get to participate as much as I would have liked to.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I got some amazing shots, and I met some amazing photographers. So in the drifting, they kind of have a box in the middle of the track where you can get out there if you get out there early enough, and they're drifting all the way around you. And I got to say, I experienced a lot more than had I taken my car for the car show.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
And even a lot of the drag guys, they're getting maybe 3-4 passes all weekend, unless you're, in a class and you're actually, really competitive. You're not getting a ton of passes. So yeah. I don't know. I felt like I was a lot more connected to the event doing the media work.
Oh, that's cool.
That's way cool.
Yeah, I'm sure you got to experience a different level, but maybe a lot deeper as well of, the camaraderie and actually getting deeper involved in each event that you went to. besides driving, because like you said, you're headed from one to the next or back to the pit. And so you're kind of taking up your time doing that if you're in the car.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if you've got the car for it, the Grand Champion guys, they get a lot of seat time, and they had a lot of fun. So Chris, I want to say over the weekend, made a total of like 16 autocross passes, 3 drag passes, and then there's an event on Sunday, like they have to drive and like slalom through some cones and then stop before a certain point.
Oh yeah, it's like a start stop. Yeah, the start stop.
Yeah, 3 S's. I forget what the third one is.
Right.
So, but yeah, so that is if you really want to be involved and do a lot, the Grand Champion is definitely the way to go. But yeah, I was very ingrained in just about everything from the drag racing to the drifting. The drifting was I always tell people, like, drag racing feels like a sportsman's sport. Like the participant is really enjoying that a lot, and you've built the car and you're kind of seeing the fruits of your labor. But drifting is very much a spectator sport.
Yeah,
and
definitely
being there at the final, and when they actually did the award ceremony, and the guys are like hugging his mom and his dad, and they're all cheering him on. I'm getting photos of all of that.
Yeah,
wow. And I can send you guys those photos. But that was a very cool experience because his whole family was there, and it was super cool.
Oh, that's pretty neat. Would you say the drifting was your favorite event?
At the risk of upsetting all my friends, because I'm a drag racer and so are my friends, but
Sure.
the drifting was definitely the most fun event for me to be at and shoot. And it's cool because the crowds are steadily growing at that event, and like the grandstands were packed out when they were racing.
Wow,
nice.
Well, I'd say I've not been to one. Ian is a drift driver. I always struggle with what to call it, drifter, but that's, that can say something else too. But anyway, so I've not been to one, but it does seem like it's more engaging and more exciting for a spectator to watch that. You get cars and smoke and people sliding everywhere. And,
well, it's just, it's like constant action. And it's like when people sit in the grandstands at any event I've drifted at, they're just hyped to be there. Like, this is great entertainment.
Yeah.
My kids loved it. It's just like James was saying, it's just everybody kind of gravitates toward it just because it is so
action packed
and high intensity.
Yeah.
It's not like you're sitting there waiting for the tree. No offense, drag guys or James. I love drag racing, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there. But yeah, drifting's just more
I enjoyed watching drag
chaotic.
Racing. It is a little more chaotic,
Yeah.
and more so than autocross or even road racing. I personally really like the road racing, time trial and that kind of stuff.
Love time attack.
Yep, and I enjoy doing autocross too. But the excitement level for the fans, not so much.
Yes.
If you're in the car, it's different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely one thing I found out is people that watch autocross is not as engaged until you throw them in the car.
Right.
Because they're like, why? You're not going that fast. But then when you throw them in, they're like, oh, this is fast.
Yeah. It's a different level.
And I'll tell you, I made an intentional effort to shoot a lot more of the autocross because I felt like it really doesn't get the coverage.
Yeah.
And a lot of the drivers were really thankful of like, hey, it was really cool to get a picture of my car, on the track, because otherwise you really wouldn't have gotten that. I mean, some of the photographers do kind of go over there, but if it's, hey, this guy's fixing to do a major wheelie over, at the drag strip, or I'm going to watch these guys drive around these cones over here that, again, like you said, doesn't look that fast maybe from the outside, but then you look at the photos and these guys are, really diving into a lot of these little curves and stuff. It made for some really good pictures.
Yeah, it can, especially if you get those with the really stiff frame and they're doing a little three-wheel.
Really,
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. I enjoy seeing that in my own car. Every once in a while I get a wheel off the ground. It's like, oh, that's cool.
It is
and that's
cool.
hard to do.
It is cool.
I want to back up just a little bit. Like what was like your first, your first experience with cars and what got you into cars and the passion for that?
That's interesting. My dad was big into, he was a paint and body guy. Like he did, he had some training paint and body, but, he worked to support his family, for 30 some odd years. He never sort of pursued that as a career. But he was always the guy that if something needed fixing on the car, he was going to get out there and do it. You need an alternator, it needs brake pads. Like he's not going to pay somebody. He would get out there and get his hands dirty. And I always saw that and kind of followed that example.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a hot rodder per se. He didn't really, he wasn't going racing or anything like that. I didn't grow up at the racetrack. So probably the first experience with any like real performance was going to those Gator Nationals down in Florida. But, I was obviously a teenager when the Fast and Furious came out, the first movie. And so, car culture became a thing. And then I'll be honest, my first, I'd say real job that I was at for a long period of time other than a summer job was at, I'm dating myself, Circuit City in the car stereo department.
Yeah.
So that plus Fast and Furious, I very much could have ended up in an import just as much as I ended up in my Trans Am. And I think my dad made sure I ended up with the Trans Am.
Yeah.
So
as any good dad should.
Yeah.
and to be fair, I tell folks all the time,
my
not
dad
ashamed.
hated my imports.
Just poking
I'm not
fun.
ashamed. I had a 2006 RSX Type S for a short stint, and it's the only car I've sold that I actually miss.
Right. They can be
right on.
really fun.
Yeah. I like the import stuff. I mean, it's not something I would pursue, but I love seeing the guys do it.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yep.
And then, like, what was your first project? Like, how did that transpire for you? You kind of got the bug by going there with your dad and seeing him work on cars and that kind of stuff. Like, how did that transform into project cars?
Yeah. So, I had the third gen. So, of course, I joined thirdgen.org, and I always wanted to try to tinker with it. And I don't really know, I guess, what did it other than seeing all the builds that those guys were posting out there and the things that they were doing. And my little, 305 with the Quadrajet on it wasn't doing me any favors. I mean, I went slow enough that people could see how cool my car looked. But
Yeah, there you go.
other than that, that was about it. So I always wanted to do a little bit with it and didn't really know what to do. But my dad was very much like, keep it as original as possible.
Oh.
It's going to be worth something if you keep it original. And I did that for many years. We put exhaust on it and stuff. And I think once you've got a nice V8 with a decent sounding exhaust, like it's hard to not want to go a little faster and do a little more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I tell my wife all the time, when I really started modifying my car, though, I was mid-20s. We got our first house with a garage, and she bought me a little Craftsman toolbox, and it was on from there. It was like, all right, now I got everything I need. And laying on the floor with hand tools, doing a 305 to a LQ4 6.0 swap, just kind of figured it all out. But, I really think trolling those thirdgen.org forums is what probably got me started to go, okay, this car can be something special, and I want to make it happen.
Yeah. You started seeing that stuff. Well, I could do that.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard in my garage, but I could do it.
Yeah, no, I shared that experience with you because I remember getting on forums for the car, the chassis I really loved at the time, and seeing the same thing, and I ended up doing my first motor swap based on a forum inspiration as well. So that's really cool, James.
So you're still working on that Trans Am though, yeah? You've got the 6.0 swap and is it running right now, or you said you were working on it, but I'm not sure. You've got another project, I believe, as well.
Too many, to be honest. We've inherited some vehicles, but this one, this one's my first love, right? And so, it was running. I took it back apart. My wife got me some Motion Race Works gift cards for Christmas, so I bought a 92 millimeter throttle body, which led me to say, well, I really need, my LS6 intake is only 70 or 72 millimeters, so of course I needed a bigger intake, and I found a deal this weekend on a fast 102 millimeter intake. And so that's led to, I need a different fuel rail because the stock fuel rail won't work with that. And so it's apart right now. Hopefully it'll be running by the weekend. So.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, down that rabbit hole for sure. What's your other project? Because from listening to your podcast, don't you have a truck as well or something like that?
I do. Near and dear to my heart, I have a 1988 Silverado, so OBS. Had a 305, TBI in it. Had about 340,000 miles. My granddad bought the truck new.
Holy smokes! Wow. Dang.
So that one is getting a Gen 4 5.3. That one's supposed to be the date night cruiser. That's what it's going to start out as anyway.
That's awesome.
And heat and air and everything, and just have something to take the wife out in that looks nice, and hopefully drive it to LS Fest next year.
Oh, that's really cool. That's pretty neat. How far along are you with that project?
I've just about amassed all the parts. I got the front end pulled apart, so it's swap the motor mounts and put the cam in the engine, and hopefully set it in the truck. So
what cam did
I
you
just
go
keep
with?
getting distracted with the Firebird.
James, which cam did you go with? If you don't mind me asking, I'm curious.
It's actually the same cam I've got in the LQ4, so it's a TIC Performance Street Heat cam. I think it's their Stage 2 cam. And then BTR springs and, all the trunnion upgrade and everything for, supporting that. But
Yep.
yeah, it's a big performance cam.
That's great.
What kind of challenges are you running into with that project?
Again, this harkens back to why our podcast is what it is. I think it's just time. I've got a senior this year in high school and one right behind her, and then an elementary school kid. So there's a lot of time that definitely goes to the family, and that always comes first. But
Absolutely.
It was just with everything that was going on, you say, okay, I need this part, and well, if I'm going to do that, I may as well go and upgrade this while I got the engine apart. And so then it just was continue to get the parts together, because what I found is if I don't do that and I start putting things into the truck, but I don't have it all, then it just sits.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, that's really funny. We've covered a lot of that same thing, and it seems like that's a very common theme. You got to get all the parts together, and then you change your mind halfway through because you see something bright and shiny and you want to go down a different road. So that's a problem. You have to kind of decide where you want to go with it and collect all the parts. And then the family issue, we've kind of talked about that a bit. And I wanted to ask you, so you've got 2 in high school and 1 younger. Are they into the cars, or is this a dad time only?
So I was actually just listening. I think it was your last episode, and he mentioned that as well. Like his wife and kids weren't really into it. My wife will go to the track with me, but for me, it's a lot of times it's me. My 16-year-old son, I just bought him a 03 Silverado with the 4.8 in it. It's got SS wheels on it, and so he's slowly. I took him when I went and picked up the Fast 102 intake, and the guy had a Malibu up on the lift, and then. He had a Fairlane in the garage. I think it's a 67. Don, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. And then actually just photographed him racing this past weekend. He's got a Toyota mini truck. I don't know the model, just hard body or T100 that's got a 6.0 turbo LS in it.
Oh, wow.
So he was out racing. And so he's got all kind of cool stuff. And so my son was walking around and he goes, man, really kind of want to get out and get into cars more with you. So I was like,
love it.
Don't
That's
say that.
feeling
Perfect.
Because I'm going to have you up early Saturday morning.
There you go. That's how it starts. You got to get that bug, right?
I mean,
but right now it's just me, but I'm hoping that'll change.
Yeah, I mean, he's right at the right age where it starts to click. I think
really
my
does.
son was the same way. It didn't really click when he was super young, but as he got in later teenage years, he kind of figured it out and wanted to do stuff. And shoot, now he's a diesel mechanic. So
and that I feel like that really is the age where
It is.
where it picks up.
yeah,
But on the other hand, there's nothing wrong with having your own hobby. Without the wife, I should say, I guess.
well,
Little space.
a little space, exactly. You got to get something that is kind of dedicated to yourself, but it's also nice if they take some interest in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally fair. Yeah, we all have to navigate that some way or another, whether it's wife, kids, however your family works, that whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I wanted to, before we get too far away from your photography and that kind of stuff, do you have a site that you want to give a shout out to? Where can we go to see your photography?
Yeah, I just finished getting a lot of it set up, other than just, of course, the Instagram and Facebook, which is just Shade Tree Photography.
Oh, okay.
I'm terrible at picking business or company names or whatever you want to call it. And, it's like Shade Tree Mechanic. And I was kind of playing at photography at the time. So, so Shade Tree Photography is my Facebook page. I think it's at Shade Tree Pics on Instagram. But I did just get shadetreephotography.com up and going with all my portfolios and stuff from LS Fest and the recent drag event I covered. So everything should be out there now. I actually just finished that up today.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to take a look at that.
How often are you shooting for photography?
I try to go and do, car shows and things of that nature as often as I can. Racing sometimes is a few and far between. I'll go to a test and tune night here and there, but you never know how much racing you're going to get to see when those happen. So, I'm trying to get to more events is definitely the real answer to that question, because in the past I have, might take a hiatus where I don't get to go to as much. And then, now I'm seeking out events. And as a matter of fact, I joined a group that's big into drifting up in the Atlanta area just to see if I can find some events to go up there too. So.
Cool. Right on.
So is there, excuse me, local car clubs? I mean, or do you have to travel a fair distance to kind of hook up with these different clubs?
That's actually a great question. There's certainly a lot more of an active community when you get up toward the Atlanta area, which is a couple hours from me. But we actually have the Central Georgia car scene that's been getting a lot more active. And the event that I went to this past Friday was a drag event that they put on at a track that's about 45 minutes away. And so they're definitely getting a lot more active in not just the car shows, which was, a lot of it when that group first started was, let's get together for, just a car meet and hang out and have a little car show and talk about cars.
Yeah.
And they're really getting more involved in racing or, just different events, charity car events, things like that. And so they've grown that group to be a lot more than what it originally was. And I'm excited to see what they're doing with that. And then I try to cover it as much as I can to keep that growth happening, because otherwise, you're right. I mean, it ends up being these pockets of car groups and you're driving 2-3 hours just to go see an event.
Yeah. It would be nice to be able to bring those communities together because we all have the same interest. I get that it's easier to localize because if it's close to you and convenient, you're going to participate more.
Yeah.
Or if it's like your pocket interest, like if it's the one segment of motorsport you're into, where I do think that James is right. I think photography, especially a plethora of it and constant looking at it, it will spark interest. And
in
it does
other
bring
areas.
camaraderie too, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. So you've got plans to go to LS Fest Kentucky again next year. LS Fest East, I should say, right?
Yep.
What other big events, are you going to do any Optima or anything like that?
The only other one I've looked at that I'm trying to make work and that the dates don't always fall too great, because as a matter of fact, this weekend is my 11th wedding anniversary, and there's the F-Body Beach Bash that happens every year on the weekend of my anniversary, which is in Myrtle Beach.
How convenient.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I figure I could just say, hey, we're going to the beach for our anniversary, and
See
how that goes over.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
But, I will say we've been to some Southeast Gassers event, which again is not the super large events, but they're pretty organized Gassers drag racing group that goes all around the Southeast. We've been up to Shady Side in North Carolina to watch them race. Ringgold, Georgia, they put on a heck of a show just because they're old school, straight axle, 4-speed H-pattern cars, period correct. They don't even, you can't do vinyl graphics. Everything has to be, pinstriped or hand painted on the cars.
No kidding?
Wow.
Holy smokes.
It is super cool.
That's interesting.
That sounds awesome.
So those guys put on a heck of a show, and I enjoy going to see them whenever they're within. I mean, if they're within 4 hours, I try to go. But I would like to go down and see FL2K. I think that would be awesome. March of 2020, I could definitely, talk about. I was in Texas for a training class for work, and I mentioned in my intro that I was into cars. Another guy there was, and they said, "Oh, so you guys probably want to go to the big race?" I was like, "What race?" And they said, "Oh, it's TX2K this week."
Wow.
So we split an Uber, I think Thursday and Friday from where the class was to go to TX2K and, walk around Lamborghinis and Supras. And there I'm the guy shooting the 60s or 70s Skyline that's there, or maybe it was 80s, but
Right.
I have to go back and look. But
Yeah. That's pretty funny. I'm unfamiliar with either of those events. FL2K.
TX2K is an incredible drag event, right? And they had a mile track too, James, right? Or something like that. They do a pretty high
they
speed.
used to run at Houston Dragway.
Yeah.
It's actually demolished now.
Rolling start.
It's all, I don't know. I mean, every footage I've seen from it's insane. It's top tier builds around the world.
Yeah.
Guys, bring their cars overseas for that one.
That'd be cool to see that.
And I'm sure FL2K is very similar, but it's quite the event.
Yeah. Wow. No, I hadn't heard of that one. So
I think it's called the Texas Mile, right?
Well, that's there, but at the TX2K event.
where do they hold that event?
Is it outside of Houston?
In Texas. Thank you.
Well, it was at Houston Raceway, but like I said, that track was demolished. So
Right.
I know they closed it down. I think they did one more event there after 2020, or either after things reopened, and then they shut that track down. And I'm not sure where they relocated to. They obviously did, because I saw footage of it this year. But Yeah, that was it was a great drag strip too. Like it was a good. It had tons of parking, plenty of pit space because these guys are coming in with huge haulers and stuff.
Yeah.
There were Vipers there, plenty of Skylines, Lamborghinis, McLarens. It was
Wow.
it was wild.
Big dollar stuff.
Big dollar stuff. Yeah.
Everything but Ferrari.
Oh, there's Ferraris for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, I just brain fade.
Real quick, do you know if the FL2K guys are the same that put on the TX2K? James?
I don't know. I was actually trying to look that up while we were talking.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I did not know that they did one.
And one of the other big things that I would definitely like to try and cover, so the Central Georgia car scene is doing something similar on a smaller scale here. But this weekend, actually, a good friend of mine who's given me countless amounts of advice on my car and my swap is actually on a drag and drive event this weekend. But it's interesting because it's a drag and drive, something like Sick Week or Motor Trend Drag Week, but it's no prep. So it's going to be a pretty interesting event up around the Maryland, Michigan area. But yeah, so some of the drag and drive events I think would be really cool to go and try to cover and just kind of travel with those guys and
kind of document the event. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many, and maybe they're all different, but how many tracks do they do between a drag and drive? Because it's drag race, drive to the next one, do it again, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So generally, I know this one is 4, and I think that's fairly standard because if it's like a 3 or 4 day event. But what's interesting because they're doing no prep, they're starting, I think, at Milan Dragway in Michigan. They go from there to another track, but they'll race top side of the track, but again, no prep. Then they'll go to, I think, Onondaga, which is more like a outlaw style track. They'll race that. Then there's one other one, I'm blanking on the third track, and then they go back to the first track. So that way, of course, if you left your trailers and stuff there because you're driving your drag and drive car,
Makes
they
sense.
go back to the first track they were at, but then they'll race backside of the track. So it's really, 4 different surfaces that they're going to be racing.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah, that's really interesting.
Question, because I'm not too well intro and drag racing. What is prep? Because when you say that, I'm thinking just tire deflation. Like, there's got to be more than that, right?
Well, yeah, so it's the track prep, and I think a lot of these tracks are realizing like it saves them a ton of money to run a no prep event because they, when you see them doing, dragging the slicks up and down the track in between the passes, and then they go and they've got glue that's on the starting line to help with grip, and they make sure everything is cleaned up, and so not only do they not add anything, but they don't take anything away from the track. So if there's any type of dust, dirt, debris, right, you have to know as a racer how to adjust the car, maybe take some power out, because if the track's not, hooking the way it normally would, you've got to be able to still get from A to B on the, on that pass. So you may have to take a little bit of power out, or like you said, deflate the tires. So they'll prep the car right for the track, but there's nobody out there on the track making sure it's nice and perfect and pristine and scraping it to make sure there's no debris on the track. They they run it almost like if it was a street.
Yeah, they just
interesting.
run it as is. However it is when they show up, that's what they do.
Oh, I didn't even know they
good
did that
question.
at the track.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, so I remembered what I was going to ask. Any plans to go to SEMA?
I have always wanted to go. I don't know when I'll ever get the opportunity to, but I think that would be a cool event. It's not in the cards anytime soon.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I guess the reason I asked because we're going first time this year. Woo! Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, just curious if we could meet up down there, but we're pretty excited about it. Never been. So we've talked to a few people about, well, I guess you listened to the last show with Chris Compton, kind of filled us in on some of the stuff, but we are preparing to be overwhelmed.
Yep.
So kind of excited about
I
that.
would imagine. Yeah, I feel like it would, a lot like at LS Fest, right? Like everywhere you turn, there's something to look at, and it's like I come back from a big event like that, no matter what it is, if it's something like SEMA, like a show or anything, you come back and go, man, I wish I'd have looked at that. I didn't take enough pictures of this. And somebody say, oh, did you see that? No, I'm drooling over this other thing.
Yeah.
My biggest worry for going SEMA is I'm going to bring enough film because I'm going to be taking a lot of Polaroid shots over there and handing them out. And so I'm like,
that's awesome.
I don't know if there's going to be enough film to be carrying on me, like 200, 300.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, should be a good time.
There's a local guy that does that. He does videos of it. He'll like see a nice car on a parking lot. He'll take the photo, print it. He puts it in like a Ziploc bag with a card and some other stuff, and like leaves it on their windshield for them. And it's a super cool concept.
Yeah,
Are you doing something like that?
Yeah, we did that at beaches where we take I'd take my Polaroid camera and take pictures of people's cars, and then on the back of it, I put our logo and sticker on it that gives them the link, because we're more than likely, if I take a picture of the car, we're going to be talking about it on our podcast. And that is a great way to also introduction to different people and having them tell us about their car. And it's just also memorabilia for them because it's a physical thing. They can look at their car and be like, wow, that was really neat. You know?
Yeah. So
I love that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, we got stickers printed up. It's got the QR code on it so they can just scan it right there. It works pretty well. It's pretty good.
I'll have to get your addresses and send you guys some, because Chris has went. I do. I'll do a lot of the recording and a lot of the editing because I'm in IT by trade. So I'm a tech guy, and so I do all of our editing and things. And then Chris has went sticker crazy. He's printed every time he sees like a deal from one of these sticker companies. He's like, all right, I'm going to print 100 more, and so he's got a ton of them. So I have to get some out to you guys for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. We can do a swap. I'll send you a bunch.
Yeah.
And now I know who to call for technical information.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always happy to. I'd never done video editing other than a class in college until we really started doing this, and I felt like I enjoyed the heck out of it almost as much as doing the photos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to do YouTube and do a channel for background gamers, and I was the main editor for that channel. And it's a lot of fun, but it is a lot of time consuming when you get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah. That's something we definitely have to get into probably sooner than later. We haven't done video yet, but we really need to. So
I have to tell you, last week we had we've had 2 guests on at this point, and other than that, it's just Chris and I rattling back and forth. But the first time we did it, he just kind of went on site, met with the guy, and I chopped it up into a nice interview. And that worked out pretty well. But then when we had, people in 3 different states and we had to get together, I'll have to share with you guys, like I said, how we did the setup this past week when we recorded it. But for the guest, it was the easiest thing in the world. He downloaded an app, I sent him a link, he clicked it, and he was in.
Oh, cool.
I did listen to that show, and the audio was very good on that. So that it definitely worked out well.
And the beauty is it records them all to separate tracks. So you're able to, really level them individually. It was really, really fantastic.
We're gonna have to collab on that later off mic then.
Yeah,
because that's really interesting.
Yep. Very good.
So
yeah, I wanted to ask you about what would be. I know that you've got another project car, maybe more than one in the works, right? What would be the ultimate? Like, if you could, time and money not an issue, what would be your ultimate project car?
Oh man, there's so many, but I got to admit that as just a dream car, and maybe it's basic, but a 72 Trans Am has always they're going to catch my eye every time they roll by. And I guess I'm an F-body guy through and through, but that front bumper and those cars, I would absolutely love a full resto mod 72 Trans Am. If I could just have something, like you said, to just dump unlimited resources into it and make it as nice as it could be. And I've seen a couple of them rolling around at Les Fest that really made me a little jealous, I won't lie.
I like that.
Cool. I'm sure there's plenty of cars that give you some inspiration there.
Oh,
yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. I like that a lot because growing up as a kid, I had a 72 Camaro, and
awesome.
I want another one really bad now that they've, quadrupled in price since then.
Of course.
But yeah, that would be a good one for me too. Really like that.
Yeah.
What's your dream car? Dream car all time? Are you an exotics guy, or would you pick something else?
I swear, I think I've tried to be an exotics guy because it's hard to not, when you think about if I'm going to talk about my dream car, it needs to be something really expensive, right? But as far as a really nice car that, it's like if money was no object and I was just going to go buy something to drive, it still is hard for me to get past a C7 Corvette. Mm-hmm. I love them. The styling of them, those the Stingray C7s were just amazing to me. And the C8s are great, but I think if I was just going to go pick a car up tomorrow, I used to probably would have told you what was it, the Ferrari F12 Berlinetta? I don't know. I love hatchbacks, but
yes.
But I still I always come back to the C7.
I like that car.
Yeah.
I've driven the C7 Z06. I would like to have one just to drive.
Would it be a C7 Z06 you'd be, or would you go more extreme, go like the ZL1 LE?
Yeah.
Or is that what it is? The track with all the big wing and
ZR1.
ZR1. Thank you.
Yeah, it would be the ZR1 for sure.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
No.
Yep, that's a badass car.
So, James, I had a question for you. With you working on your Trans Am, do you have an overall goal for what, like the end of it, like the end goal for that car is going to be?
Yeah, and as soon as I hit it, it'll change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the current one?
Really, it was to get the swap done and prove to myself I could do it, and to harken back to the question originally as something that I thought about, because I'm looking at a poster on the wall here. It really made me convince myself that like I could get out there and do it. Was the Mighty Car Mods YouTube channel?
Yes.
Wild.
Yes.
But those guys are amazing.
That's
They
how I
are.
first got into modification, was from that channel.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Say who?
Mighty Car Mods.
They're an Australian group. They do a lot of like builds, but like the early days, they did how to do like DIY cheap modifications. Like the one I remember and actually did it to my Toyota back then was going to Goodwill, buying some computer speakers and modifying that into the truck for better speaker quality.
Oh, you're ridiculous. Okay.
But it worked.
It did work.
Do they still
They've
do their?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. They've expanded quite a bit.
Okay.
Now
I'm
they're
gonna have to look it
They're
up.
doing full scale builds.
I think they're like 6
they-
million
they've-
subscribers or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. They've been all to Japan. As a matter of fact, the poster that I ended up buying was the autographed one of the car that they built when they were, I think, in Japan. But so those guys, and what was crazy is they sort of had that chemistry, and they've been entertaining from day one. And I've mentioned in one of our episodes a while back how much I love the British Top Gear just because of Clarkson and Hammond and May.
Right.
Those guys were awesome, and I did just watch the send off that they did this last episode for a Grand Tour. Check you up a little
I
bit,
still
but
need to see that. I've been hearing on Instagram it's a really good episode.
Well, they have good chemistry.
Yeah.
Each individual person is different, yet the way they interact together, it just works.
Exactly. I think that's why it was so successful.
Right.
and I get the same feel watching Mighty Car Mods. So anyway, that is, fast forward, the goal was really get the car running and see what I could, I was just like, I just want to see, I just want to go make passes in my car with something other than the 305. And so, sort of accomplished that, but then, ran, stock weight with full interior and everything, all motor. And, I ran like a 1221, I think. And it was like, okay, the goal was to see 11s,
Okay.
all motor, without any power adders. And so we're close. I think this intake's going to make a massive difference.
Oh, yeah.
I need a different gear badly, but I'll be going from a stock LS6 intake and just a stock throttle body up to a 92 millimeter throttle body and a 102 millimeter intake. So I'm going to play with the tune a little bit, and I think we can get into the 11s no problem. And then, like I said, once I see 11s all motor, I don't necessarily know what's next, but I'm sure it won't stop there.
What gear set are you running? Or ratio?
So it's got a Borg Warner, the 9-bolt. And so I thought, I picked it up because I wanted to do disc brakes on the rear, and it was easier than doing a conversion on the 10-bolt that I had.
Yep.
And so I picked up a 9-bolt Borg Warner out of a Camaro from another multi member with a 327 gear in it.
Okay.
And it's okay. I mean, because I've known guys that have run, low 11s, high 10s on like a 340 something. So
Sure.
I'm not hurting myself too much, but I definitely would like to get more like a 373 gear. Or
Exactly. I think you'd be much closer to that 11 if you had it.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about drag racing or how you set up the car for that, but do you look for horsepower or torque more?
Hookup.
Well,
That's what you look for.
right, but I mean, torque's going to pull you off the line, right? So how do you set the car up? Like, what are you looking for? Anybody?
That's weight.
I mean, in my experience and all my friends that do drag, basically it's like, gear is almost everything.
Yeah.
Torque's nice and fun, but if you got short gears, you're not going to hook up.
Right. So you still got to run it out.
Yeah.
Well, then wouldn't it be better to have like a CVT then, so you have unlimited gears?
Oh, God, no.
Jesus.
Well, I mean, seriously.
Get out of here.
Only if
Man.
you want to grenade it.
I'm not talking like a cheap
there's
CVT.
the door.
I'm talking like an actual well-built.
Well, yeah,
like
I mean,
Formula
most
One.
drag guys are doing auto, right? I mean,
Yeah.
most guys are running like power glides and
Oh, yeah.
turbo 400.
Well, and they do that because it's consistent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be taking the time to shift.
exactly.
I get that.
If you're trying to make serious times. Yeah.
So again, wouldn't CVT be the ultimate way then?
There's the door.
I don't know.
Again,
I don't know if there's one that
strong
can
enough.
handle 800
Yeah.
horsepower.
I know
I
in
mean,
the 90s.
DCT would be much better, right? Dual clutch transmission, like the
Yeah,
autos. Those things
Yeah.
are.
But then you don't have the gearing. That's the whole point, though.
Oh, no, you have.
Yeah, I think
you
you
got
do.
plenty of
Well, you
gearing
got
based
plenty.
on your rear gear set.
Yeah.
What's your thought, James?
Yeah, you're definitely out of my depth on those transmissions, but I'll tell you, the gear is super important, and a lot of it matters too. Are you running 8th mile or quarter mile? You're
yeah.
going to set that up very differently because you're going to run a really tall, like a 410, or even higher if you're running 8th mile, because
Yeah.
you're going to wind it out for 4 or 5 seconds, and then you're done.
Yeah.
So you definitely want a little more if you're doing quarter, but like you said, getting out of the hole is a big thing too, because with a ton of torque, and just a lot of power, if you can't put it to the ground without breaking the tires loose, you're not doing yourself any favors either. So
Sure. Well,
that's where I think a lot of the challenge of drag racing comes in, is setting the car up suspension wise, and the front travel, and making sure that you can get out of the hole efficiently and make a decent 60-foot.
yeah, and that's where that thought came from. So, however you set that motor up, right, with your heads and your valves and your whole, you can make a lot more torque than horsepower, right, or even an even match. I'm just curious if that was better than, you've got a 800 horsepower, but you're only 400 foot-pounds of torque. Mm-hmm. So,
Yep.
just curious. I don't know.
I was going to ask James, what do you think right now is the best bang for buck out of the box car you can get for drag racing? Like, would that be like the Demon, because that's supposed to be the ultimate drag car? Something like an Audi, because all-wheel drive? Like,
I imagine it depends on the classing.
Yeah, I mean, the all-wheel drive stuff definitely can do some pretty impressive stuff. But to your point, when you go to the track right now, there's a lot of the Hellcats and the SRTs out there putting down some pretty respectable times. And I went to a test and tune right before LS Fest, and there was a guy. He showed up in a super cool guy. He was in his 70s, and he showed up in a 70-something F100. Converted it over to drag trim himself. Went out and made a bunch of passes, and drove the truck 3 hours home. And
Wow.
he was out there running all the Hellcats and beating quite a few of them. And some of them were beating him. The supercharged cars were beating him. I think, again, out of the box, if you were going to go pick something up to go to the strip, they're super respectable. I don't know that anything is really going to be right there with it. The ZL1 Camaros are great. And if you're doing anything with, like road course, anything like that, I think they're probably going to be have a little bit of the edge. But what Dodge is putting out right now is definitely a very respectable drag car. If you were just going to drive something off the showroom floor and go straight to the track.
okay.
Yeah, I would wonder about, that truck beating Hellcat's not that surprising. There's got to be quite the weight difference there. I mean, if that Hellcat lost 1,000 pounds, it would be a much faster car.
Don't they make a carbon fiber version? Or some company makes a carbon fiber version?
Oh, maybe.
I'm sure of it.
I mean, because they're 4,800
They're
pounds.
boats.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I mean, it makes Liger look like a pig.
Liger is a pig.
Well, she's a boat.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And then, the ZL1 versus the Hellcat, those are both really close to the same weight. I think that Camaro's really heavy.
The Camaro's very heavy, but the rear suspension is much more dialed in for
It does work
road
better.
and track.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
So
You got about I just had to look it up because I was curious. The Hellcat's about 643 pounds heavier than the ZL1
Okay.
Bonelli.
Yeah.
Wow.
Significantly.
it is
still-
significant.
That's insane.
Yeah. And, when you're talking 60-foot times,
Yep.
that's a lot of extra weight to get moving.
Like 3 people.
sure.
For
Yeah.
sure. Backing up to your Trans Am, when you first got that car, did you sit down and say, this is my eventual goal? And I know those things change over time, but at that time, did you have goals for that car, or like a eventual, this is what I want it to be someday?
So where I grew up, and my best friend is, his family's diehard Ford guys. His dad had a '72 Grabber Maverick that is still original paint. It's a super cool car, and now he's got like Holley EFI on it, and he's finally got it back on the road after several other project cars through the years. And then my best friend got a '87 Fox Body Mustang for his first cars, and then I had the '86 Trans Am, and so there was always kind of that rivalry. And I'll be honest, I think if anything, it was just to keep up with him, because the little 302 would run circles around my 305 for sure.
Yeah.
Back in the day, so it was more just trying to keep up with it. But back then, it was more just styling, and just wanted to have a nice looking car to cruise around town in and go hang out at the Sonic in town when it was still there.
Speaking of styling, I have to know, do you have the Screaming Chicken on the hood of your car?
I do not. I never cared for the look on the third gens, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. On
Second
the third
gen,
gen,
it's gotta have it.
Yeah, the second gen's a must for sure.
But I do have embroidered on my headrest.
Nice.
Ooh,
That was
good touch.
Yeah.
Good touch.
Just kind of work it in there. Just kind of sneak it in. I like it.
Yeah.
You gotta
Every
let 'em-
Firebird's got to have a phoenix on it.
You got to let them know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And styling wise too, we were talking with Matt this past week, because third gen guys are really divided on whether they like the ground effects or not. And on the Firebirds, like this GTA style front end that I have with the ground effects is by far my favorite. Even over the 91, 92s, where they went to kind of the more pointed nose, which transitioned to the fourth gen's styling that you see. But
Right.
these are by and far my favorite body style for the third gens.
I agree. I think the ground effects look incredible on those cars. It really does make a huge difference. And it just, you can look kit low as opposed to slamming the thing. It looks lower.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
That's cool. I want to work this in. Often we'll wait for this till the very end, but I want to ask you what your 3 cars off the top of your head that you really want to drive someday.
Well, I got to put the C7 Corvette on there because I still haven't driven one.
Okay.
So I'm going to get behind the wheel of one day.
Yep.
Porsche GT3 RS.
Okay.
Just again, I've watched a lot of Top Gear, and just that's a car that I would definitely like to be behind the wheel of one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, I guess I do know why, but at TX2K there was a really awesome Viper there, and that's another one that I think it would just be cool to say I've sat behind the wheel of, because there's just not a lot of them.
What gen Viper?
I don't know a lot about them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think what was that one? I think it was the most recent one, though, because this thing was.
So
It
Gen
was wild.
5 is the most recent, and
Yeah.
to know about them is like the side scoops are more rounded, more modern looking, I would say.
Very modern looking compared to the other gens.
Yeah.
But Gen 1, 2, and 3 are the most iconic. I think.
I think Gen 2 is probably the most iconic.
Yeah, Gen
Most
2
people-
for
That's
sure.
the one from
the
the
GTS.
90s.
Yeah, the GTS.
Gran Turismo game that everyone knows is.
Okay,
second
that's
gen.
probably what I'm thinking about then, because there was one that rolled into the local drag strip, and I posted the guy's picture on Instagram, and I said, hey, if you know this guy, tag him, and I'd love to send him this picture, and then of course that would give me the opportunity to chat with him about it. But
You bet.
hadn't found him yet.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that'll
pop
turn up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our town's not that big. I'm sure I'll get to talk to him soon.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely driving the Vipers an experience. I'll tell you that. They're either they'll bite you back or they'll be gentle until they don't want to anymore, like a cat.
Oh yeah, especially the early gens. Is that what
Yeah.
you said? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Gen 1 doesn't have traction control.
No traction, no
Or 2.
ABS. The front end lifts over 120 miles an hour. The suspension isn't the best on it.
No
No
door handles.
Brakes.
No door
The brakes
handles.
aren't
No
the best.
windows. No
Brakes too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
a
I mean,
monster.
but that's the first gen. That's an experience to drive that. You know.
Yeah. I'd like to drive one of those.
Yeah, same.
The Gen 2 it got a little more refined, but not by much.
AC, door handles. What else? A few things, right?
AC
Traction
door handles. I
Traction.
think ABS.
ABS, yeah.
ABS on
for
that one.
sure. No traction.
airbag?
No traction control.
They eventually got airbags, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got airbags. They
So-
had to.
Yeah. So, but the
Yeah, I was going to say, at some point you got to.
I think
Yeah.
the Viper, it's not for me personally. It's the 97 RT specifically because those have the same suspension as engine as the Gen 2s, but the body's still the same as the Gen 1. It's the only year they made the Gen 2 look like Gen 1 while
Wow.
still being
That's cool.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's kind of interesting tidbit there. you've done a lot of road trips with your cars and going to take photography and that kind of stuff. Like, do you have a very, let's see, memorable road trip or your favorite memory of a road trip?
So I'll be a little sentimental, but obviously it's last year driving to LS Fest with Dad. So that was 7 hours on the road, doing stories and just I've taken a lot of road trips with the kids, and that's a lot of stops, and we definitely pet up and have fun. But 7 hours on the road with Dad, he was excited to get to the track, and so there wasn't a whole lot of stops. It was just us, and it was funny because I'm a big music guy, but I don't think we turned the radio on. I mean, it was 7 hours, and we just talked, and as much as we've talked through the years, it was really the first time I recall that I think he and I went on a trip like that, just the two of us.
Oh, wow.
And so that road trip will always be, very, very special.
Well, and
fantastic.
what a detail to remember about that trip too, and that,
Sure.
that was your probably one of the final road trips with him, and you guys didn't listen to music. That's really special, man. That's cool.
Yep.
I'm sure most of the topic was cars too, I imagine.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Going to LS Fest.
So he worked at a service station at one point, or I think his dad owned the service station at one time, and he worked there. So he always had stories of people coming in. That was back when you'd come in and get gas, but also we might go ahead and do your brake pads for you while you're here, kind of thing. And he had all kind of stories. So it was good to hear all this.
Wow,
That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any advice for somebody that is wanting to get into cars, really? I mean, there's a second half to this question, and I'll save it. But like, to get into project cars and eventually into some type of racing, whether it's drag racing, autocross,
You can get someone's spark going.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
good way to put it.
I think it's just to surround yourself with it. For me, I feel like in today's day and age with social media, we're connected in the sense that most people know what's going on with my car because I'll put it in the Mullet Militia group but at the same time, we don't really get together and wrench on each other's cars or talk nearly as much. And there's a group of guys that do that here. And I think if you really want to make some progress, you've got to find some people who've either walked the path that you're on or that want to walk it with you, and just, surround yourself with the culture. If it's drag racing, if you want to get into bracket racing, at the drag strip, most of those racers out there want to help the next generation get into it. And I think it's just being around it and go to some events, even if, my thing too is always, my car isn't ready, so I'm not going to go to the strip this weekend. Well, would have been better off to go, and somebody might give you some advice, helps you get yours going a little bit sooner.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's great advice. Really surround yourself with it. Just go. Start talking to people, because you're right. Like, it's such a community. The car community is really open to talking. Just ask questions, admire what they've got going, and figure out how you can, incorporate that into your own life, your own builds, whatever you've got project wise.
Well, and it's like, a lot of those guys will have parts you might need or something, or skills that you need, welding.
Contacts.
Whatever. Yeah, contacts. Or, it's worth it just to go, even if your car's on jack stands.
Yeah.
Yep.
Show up and talk to people, and
I would
probably going to get somewhere with it.
Yeah.
Or at least make a friend that'll help you.
That's very true. James, on the podcast front, being that we've both started podcasts this last year, how's it been going for you? What's your learning curve?
It's a lot. The technology side of it, I thought was going to be the real challenge, even though I'm in tech, right? Because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I want my video quality to be just right. So I use my DSLR camera hooked to my computer as my webcam when we record, and doing the editing and stuff. But the biggest thing really is finding just the time to sit down, weekly and record, and then knowing you've got the editing in front of you and having that deadline of getting an episode out every week.
Yep.
But all of that those are just logistical challenges that can be solved with the right emphasis, right? I think the biggest thing is, in something that's pretty saturated, how do you stand out?
Yeah.
How do you find something that's going to make people go, okay, I like listening to those guys? How do you have that chemistry that Clarkson, Hammond, and May have, right?
Agreed.
And that's been something that I've been struggling to figure out. Chris and I love to talk, and we care very much about this community. And for us, we care about those dads that, maybe they do need a 30, 40-minute period where they just sit down and listen to some like-minded people chat for a while and kind of disconnect from things. But how do you convey that in a way that actually makes your podcast stand out and be something people want to listen to?
Yeah.
Man, I hear you.
Well said.
Very well said. Yeah. How do you stand out, and how do you get your podcast, your social media? How do you get it in front of people and let everybody know it's there? And how do you get it to stick? That's the thing I've been really struggling with and trying to figure out in this journey. Because it's a lot of work.
For sure.
Yeah, and
So
you're
I
doing
reached
video
out to-
and audio too, which is something we've talked about
Yeah.
hurdling, but yeah, you do it well in the episodes I've seen,
And
man.
I appreciate that. And I definitely, I treat it like, it's more for the audio, right? Like the video is there so that, people can kind of see us and see who we're talking to. But I'm focused on making sure the audio and the conversation flows really well when I do the editing.
Right.
Yeah.
But, to your point of how do you get it out there, I think you can get it out there, but then how do you do it where you're not overdoing it?
Right.
I think there is a line that you don't want to cross there. And I reached out to another podcast early on when we were starting and said, hey, can I possibly reach out to you, for some advice down the road? And much like the car community, right, which it is a car podcast, they're focused on like auto, paint, and body.
Okay.
And, he was like, guy sent me his cell phone number. I was like, hey, when you're ready, reach out. I'd love to chat with you and kind of tell you. But the biggest thing he told me right off the rip, right, is post it as often as you can. Take your video and feed it through the AI or whatever, cut it up into these little 60-second or 30-second clips and have reels going out at least daily. Like get as much out there as you can, because people are sort of scrolling through that stuff. And if they hear you have a quick little 15, 20-second thought that intrigues them, or in that time you're cutting up with somebody and they hear that you've got some chemistry, they're more likely to hit that subscribe or the follow button
Yeah.
than watching a 40-minute video.
Yeah.
For sure. And I agree. And I know that that's the way to do it. How do you find time to do it?
That's the big thing.
That's the big thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm
know-
super struggling with that.
Yeah, I know me and Rob are always listening to episodes and trying to find out what sounds good for clips, or be like, okay, remember this and clip that, and then finding the time to actually edit it out.
Yeah.
Well, I think James touched on something right there that we discussed on the podcast before. AI, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And what kind of program what are you dumping this into to get the results? Is it working?
So, the truth is, even with the AI, right, like being consistent has been tough. And that's where I'm definitely starting to lean on Chris some, because I told him, I said, I do a lot of the recording and then I take the files and edit the long form video. So I've got the, 40 to 50 minutes of content there. And I can definitely feed it through the AI, but then to me, it still needs a good bit of cleanup. Now, if your goal is simply to get it out there, I think it was Opus Clip or something like that. You can do up to 40 minutes of video free per month or something with a free account.
I've seen that before.
Yep.
And it works decent, but I find a lot of times I'm like, okay, I know the context of what that was supposed to be. So you need like a couple more sentences ahead of that, or maybe a couple after. And it's fairly easy to go in there and add or subtract from the beginning or end of it. But, then you want to, make sure the subtitles are a certain, certain color that maybe matches your theme. And of course, if you don't have the paid account, I don't think you can like save the branding stuff. So you've got to do it every time that you're doing a new project and cutting another video up into clips. But, on average, our 40, 45-minute videos, it'll kick out 18 to 20 of the little shorts.
Right.
Wow.
But I find myself wanting to tweak every one of them. And so that's another couple hours of my time, and then scheduling them to go out. And I'll tell you, I don't know why. Even that doesn't bother me as much as, like, even my photography Instagram posts, like, I hate coming up with the caption for the post. Like the text part, it's like the worst part for me. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Sometimes it comes easy, but I don't know if they're any good. It's like, is that going to be something somebody is going to click on because they read that? Probably not. So yeah, that's definitely a struggle. Been a struggle.
So interestingly enough, and this is somewhat related, I've been noticing random reels lately where the caption is clearly a Chat GPT response to some random question about a car. So it'll say, it'll literally say, certainly, here's information on the ZL1 1LE Camaro. And it'll just be a block of text that they obviously just told
Cut and
ChatGPT
paste.
to tell me about the Z. And they're just throwing that in there because SEO and, all the crawlers are going to see that content in the
Yes.
caption and grab it. And it's like,
and
I look at that and go, that's sloppy, but
Yeah.
if it works.
It's sloppy, but I think they're looking at things that are trending, especially all the hashtags. It's a trending caption. It's been said before, or the hashtags they're using are trending, so you will get better like output or outreach in the algorithm.
I suppose so.
That's what I've heard. That's why they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But
It's
if
a little bit
crazy,
sloppy.
but it works. Is it really that crazy?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of rough. I want to know, James, what car is a hard no for you?
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun.
Cybertruck.
There you
Yes.
All right, we
That's
like
an easy one.
go. Ding, ding, ding. Yes.
You mean the garbage truck?
the garbage truck?
Oh man.
The stainless steel garbage truck.
Cybercuck.
I actually think I've seen less stainless steel ones probably in the last month than anything else because everyone keeps wrapping them, trying to hide them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn
Yeah,
right.
there's a bunch of that. I see. I don't know, for a day it seems like.
It seems around here now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're quite popular around here.
Do you have many down there, James?
No, I think we've got one. I always tell people, I'm like, oh, we found the guy. We found it. We've got one.
The one.
Yeah.
Well, James, I don't know. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. I want to reach out to you again. Maybe we can talk a little more offline about how things are going and how we can cross promote a little bit and try to get some listeners for both of us. So
Yeah, I'd love to see us work together more. I mean, for me, there's a lot of people consuming content these days. There's a lot of eyeballs, and there's plenty of room for everybody to eat at the table. So I'm big on trying to promote other channels as much as I can to see if somebody's dream can come true, if somebody can make a run at this thing, then that's awesome. I ran into a family at LS Fest that. It was a dad and a wife and his son, and they're restoring a 54 5-window Chevy.
Oh.
And, I think it was a 5-window. I know it was a 54 Chevy pickup. I can't remember if it was a 5-window now. I'm doubting myself. But the son was around the age of my youngest and so excited that him and his dad are on YouTube. And so I looked them up after LS Fest, and they had like 40-something subscribers. And I was like, man, how cool would it be for this kid to wake up one day and he's got like 200 subscribers. He would just be on the moon.
Oh, for sure.
So
What's their YouTube channel?
it's called Can't Save Them All. So CANTSAV and then EM. So Can't Save All.
We'll drop it on.
But
That's great.
and they've got they've got a few videos out. They posted a couple from Ellis Fest. They hadn't posted any since they've been back. I try to keep an eye on them, but they gave me one of their stickers, and I added it to my cooler where I got a track cooler that I keep all my stickers and stuff on. But yeah, I mean, to your point, I definitely would like to talk with you guys more in the future. And I mean, if I can help you from a technical perspective in any way whatsoever, I work remote, so I'm home. I'm at a computer 40-something hours a week, so I'm always happy to help.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that would be fantastic.
James, I got 2 questions for you real quick.
Sure.
I was going to ask, for your guys' channel, for any new listeners coming to your channel, what episode or video would you guys recommend them checking out first? And then the second part is, any new listeners coming to your channel, like, what would you say is like the big highlight, what you guys like do for your channel that no other channel does?
Yeah, so that goes back to that, what sets us apart. I think the LS Fest recap episode was probably the best that flowed. And people are familiar with LS Fest, it would definitely be a good one to start on. Mm-hmm. As far as what we do, differently, I think my big thing is just trying to engage with the Facebook page. When people are commenting and things like that, I try to be pretty active on there. Mm-hmm. And, if people have got feedback, we love to hear it. Definitely go and, comment on the posts when we throw them out there. And we try to respond to each and every one of them right now. I know, at scale, maybe one day that's not nearly as possible, but for right now, that's always our goal. So, but, differentiators, I mean, we love cars, but I think, we try to talk about, fitness or, whatever it may be that dads need to kind of like we were talking about way earlier, disconnect and do something for themselves and kind of keep them grounded so they can go and be the best that they can for their families and be the best provider they can be.
Right on.
That is cool.
1 second, Rob's reading stuff.
Oh yeah, sending me messages in the middle of the.
So that is a challenge with video, I will tell you, because I have had people doing that with me, and you can clearly see in the video, like my eyes are scanning, and I may be clicking something or responding, and I always feel bad about it, but it's hard not to respond.
I know sometimes you you kind of have to. There's 4 of us here, and nobody else is picking up the slack. So what's up, guys? Come on,
send me one, Grant.
Right? So, I just want to make sure that's High Octane Dads podcast. Do you guys have a website for your podcast? We do not.
It just came out, I think you said, right?
Is that what? Okay.
Well, no. So that was my photography page. So I did early on. We bounced names for a while. We wanted it to be dad related, and really, ultimately the goal is to even tackle things like mental health, because I know Chris and I have both struggled from time to time and dealing with the weight of being a dad and just everything that goes along with that. And so we really wanted it to kind of encompass that, but make it clear that like we bonded over cars. And so when we hit that name, I think I bought the domain name that day, like the minute that it got us. So I do some web design for people. I love building websites and helping people get kind of their web presence out there. I helped our gym locally, which, they didn't have a website previously. My son does martial arts. I helped the martial arts school revamp their website and get a new one out. So we need one for sure. It's just been on the back burner, but to your point, it needs to happen very soon. And we do have the domain name highoctanedads.com. So.
Okay.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. and I get it. And I think, I'm not sure how important it is for a podcast to have that. Maybe people are going there and looking at that, but I mean, if you've got extra content, you can post it there and links to your show and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I totally get it, but yeah, that's something that we have not really delved into at this point. Shoot, we don't even have video up yet, so we're seriously
it'll come soon.
Yeah, seriously slacking. But
to that point, like with having a website, and I should say this because I help people build websites when they want or need to go out there. If you're a contractor or somebody who has even like my photography, right? Like I need to be able to showcase my portfolio. And to your point, a podcast, you can list your episodes, maybe throw show notes out there. You can do transcriptions if people really wanted to go read them, and then 2, transcribed show notes become tons of keywords that are out there to rank the website. But at the end of the day, your Facebook, right, is what's going to come up for a lot of people. Or when they're looking for something, they're going to go search YouTube or Facebook for it. And so just having that presence and being active there, I think is really important. And, like you said, I did set up like it's not Linktree, but it's one of those services where you can put everything kind of in one place. So right now, I believe highoctanedads.com redirects to that, so you can find our Spotify and all that stuff. So and that was super easy to set up.
Yeah, we've been using actually 2 different Linktree style. One is Linktree, the other one I don't remember. TapLink.
All my links or something.
Yeah, and those do work pretty good. It's the easy way to get everybody redirected to the proper place, because there's so many different apps that you can listen to the podcast on that you can't keep track of all that.
It's true.
So that brings up a question I have for you guys. So across all of those different platforms, how would you say you would measure success because YouTube, okay, if I'm focused on YouTube, my YouTube subscriber count is the thing that's kind of my measuring stick for where I'm at, or maybe it's TikTok or whatever that is. But when you got some people who have an iPhone, so they're naturally just going to use Apple, they're not using Spotify. And then you've got folks that use Spotify. Like, how do you know what good looks like?
It's so hard, and even analytics on Spotify are somewhat decent. Analytics on Apple are terrible,
awful,
and the other ones are so small that they don't even count really. So our host does keep track of a lot of that information, like who's listening on all the different apps, which is kind of nice. I can tell how many listeners we have on a random random podcast app.
Deezer or something.
Yeah, there's so many different ones out there. So that's kind of nice. And really, that's the analytics that I look at is where our downloads are coming from. And we can tell how many different countries we're on every month, anywhere from 10 to 18 countries, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it also shows us where everything's coming from, what states have how many downloads and that kind of thing. And it doesn't matter what app they're using, it gives us that.
Have we finally reached all 50 states? I know we're in 48 states.
Not in 1 month.
Okay.
Overall, yes.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting, but I don't know. It's kind of fun to watch.
It is.
Yeah.
You may have to look into something like that because right now it's just, I posted to YouTube. Chris grabs the MP3 that I exported in the video, and then I think he drops it to Spotify, and then RSS feeds just feed it out everywhere else. So we don't really have like a central host where we're putting those things out. It's just Chris doing all of that after I drop the edited files to him. So
Gotcha.
I have to look into that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we just use a single host that RSS feeds it to everybody else. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say before we got a little off onto the hosting thing, I really appreciate your other takes other than just cars. I like to listen to podcasts as I commute and drive. I drive a lot. So, downloading that content into my head, it's nice to hear not just car talk, but we get on these separate tangents. We do the same thing. We get off on weird tangents every now and then. And I'm like,
We have
I don't
one
know.
major one all the time.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You're awful. So I try to bring us back to project cars as much as I can, even though I think most listeners don't mind a side tangent as long as it's fairly interesting, But I like to hear the family side of stuff and how we're coping with different things, the interpersonal relationships and how everybody deals with those. It's interesting to me. So I do appreciate that about your show.
No, I appreciate the feedback. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem. So I think that's all we've got for you for now, but man, I really do appreciate you taking the time and talking to us, and I hope we connect again.
Yeah, most definitely. I would look forward to it.
Yeah.
Thanks, James.
It's really nice meeting you, James.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah. You guys have a great evening.
All right,
You
you
too,
too,
man.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks.
Cool. Oh,
And that was
threw
James
phone on the
Schoepf
floor.
with
James Schoepf, High Octane Dads podcast. Check it out. Hit like, follow, subscribe, all the different things. Not only to his, but ours. If you haven't already, if you're just checking us out,
Please.
appreciate it. Some 5-star reviews on both would be nice. Wherever you're listening, you're really cool. Guys, what do you think?
I'm really glad he pronounced his last name.
Me too. 'Cause
Me
I
too.
would have said shop.
Yeah,
I think
I
is
would've.
what I was looking at.
I would have looked at it and went, nah.
You guys don't want to know how I was going to pronounce it. Because I thought it was Schofield.
What?
Yeah, I don't know where you got
you getting-
field.
I'm bad with
Where's the
words.
end?
You're bad with words. You're bad with reading.
I think he was
Chef's
well
way
articulated
easier.
and a really cool guy.
Yeah,
and
for
his content looks incredible.
Yeah, it's
And
really good.
I'm stoked we got to talk to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. It was right on. And I like what he's doing with his cars and that kind of stuff and his photography. I want to check that out. I haven't been able to look at it yet. Wasn't sure where to go.
Yeah, I hadn't
No, we
seen
do.
a link or anything on their
But,
show notes or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
What did he say it was? I got it right.
Shady Tree.
ShadeTreePhotography.com.
I
Yeah.
So
followed him as
Shade
soon as
Tree
he said it.
Photography. Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool car stuff on there.
Sweet.
Nice.
Sweet.
I like how he's more into drifting. He's getting more into it.
He
It's
is.
freaking sweet.
Yeah. He's got me one. I need to go
hooked.
check it out now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
Awesome.
I kind of want to go check it out, but I know the Mustang will be sideways in a tree.
No, you'll be
Oh,
fine.
you
There's
could
no
do that
trees.
leaving here. You can go sideways into somebody's backyard.
Come on, dude. Just bring the car.
Yeah.
Bring tires too, though.
Bring tires
Bring
too.
tires.
Extras.
Big thing.
Strap them to the hood.
Yep.
He's got a trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Hey, so Ian, last episode. Welcome back, by the way. It's
Thank
been a
you
few
guys.
weeks.
It's been way too long.
Yeah.
Seriously, I missed you guys, man.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks. So glad you're here. Glad you're not working late again.
I know. Out of town. I'm not
Man.
out of town this week.
Yeah.
Woo. Nice.
You've had a rough spell.
Yeah, it's been long couple weeks.
Last show, we talked about what we were looking forward to going to SEMA, and kind of I wanted to get your input directly and like, what's on your mind? What do you really want to see?
So, Hoonigan does a burn yard.
Oh,
It's like a just nasty cookie. Like guys can get pretty big. It's still drifting, but you're not connecting corners. It's just big cookies.
Okay.
They do a whole yard, I think, all weekend or all week. And
Kind of like Oreo or chocolate chip. What kind of cookie you talking about?
oh, dude,
Like, is it a Bake Off?
Oreos.
the kind we like.
Oh, we're talking about
It's the
burning
burnt-
wheels.
It's the burnt
Yeah.
rubber style.
Oh.
And
Okay.
they're doing
Rubber
figure
type.
eights, and
Yeah.
basically cars go out there and just destroy tires.
Yeah.
And push it and just push.
Do burnouts until
Yeah,
they
and I've
blow
seen
up.
pictures for years
Yeah.
of and video. Mm-hmm. I'm like, God, that looks fun.
Ian, I got to ask, because one thing that just caught my mind on that. At
Wait. You
Why
raised
is your hand up?
You raised your hand. Do we need to call on you?
Yes.
Grant?
Just
Grant?
talk.
Grant in the corner. Did you have a question?
Yes, it is. Thank you. It's on our video, obviously.
Yes.
When you go into drift events, is it recommended to bring earplugs and earmuffs?
Yes, definitely.
Like, is it as loud as, like, say, like a drag strip?
If you're it's not that bad because where the stands are, like at the 2 tracks that I mostly frequent now.
Yeah.
It gets loud right there, but they put the stands before the main entry, so it's just acceleration, and then once they're on track, it's not terribly loud.
Okay.
But for kids, yeah, 100%.
I was just thinking for when we go to SEMA, because like you were saying with the cookies and donuts
For
stuff.
the burn yard,
like,
yes.
Should we be
I
bringing
think that
earplugs with us, or recommending to our listeners bring ear protection?
I would definitely
At
advise
least throw them
that.
in your pocket.
Yeah.
Try to
I
remember to
would
bring
advise
some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another couple things. Besides basic shop, like 326 Power is a shop that I follow. They bring cars every year.
Mm-hmm. What style? I'll help you out. What style of
Just basically drift spec cars.
Yeah. So you want to go look at, and it's not necessarily JDM, but that type of area, or just like, I'm sure that there will be specific
There was a
vendors
Yeah, there are
geared
a
towards
few,
drifting.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
there will be. But there was a couple cars that popped up on my feed that were there last year.
Yeah.
Like there was a Merkur XR4 Ti that was built. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Yeah, I do.
It's an old hatchback,
yeah.
like a
car,
80s. And he put a new EcoBoost 4-cylinder in it, turbo. Like it was just a gorgeous built car. I want to see different stuff like that
Yeah.
too. Just something that's like
Some we don't see every day.
well put together. You don't see every day.
Yeah.
It's not cheesy or, it's tasteful. Essentially, I want it to be. But when I saw that car on camera, I'm like, man, I would love to look at that in person.
Oh, yeah. I'd be
So-
really surprised if you found anything that goes to SEMA that's going to be cheesy.
Well,
I mean,
I've
if
seen
we
the
do-
some of the lifted truck
Well, that
images
dude,
with
bro.
the welds and
Dude,
stuff.
bro.
I mean, there's like fails of SEMA Instagram page.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
There
I was
is?
Yeah,
I was just
and then
gonna
they have
say.
trucks with no drive shafts.
Oh, wow.
Guess what I'm doing the rest of the evening? I'm looking that shit up.
Yeah, you
I was
should.
just going to say we need to pay special attention to that stuff
We
if we
should.
see it.
Yeah, I agree.
And not to call anybody out or be a
we
dick
won't
about it,
get
but
specific on
Right.
shops or anything, but it's fun to.
it's fun to point it out maybe.
Well, the whole event is
Yeah.
about observing.
Yeah,
right. And it's
100%.
like you're bringing it to get looked at under a
it
microscope.
should be exactly. It should
So
be top
I get that you've been working towards this build
Yeah.
all year long, and you almost had it, but you didn't. But I'm
Right.
going to trailer it in anyway.
Yeah.
On one hand, I respect that. Like, hey, we
Yeah.
went this far. I'm
know.
gonna put it in anyway.
Yeah,
But you'll see some
Totally get
pictures
that.
where stuff's like
not
that's
quite
not
up to
even
par.
close.
Yeah.
So
Well,
and I
an
won't be like
unfinished
picking-
build. I totally get an unfinished
too,
build. You
me too.
didn't have time to finish it. Okay, you brought it to the stage that it's at, but where it's at should be quality,
Yes. Yeah.
not some cheesy drywall screws holding your fenders on.
yeah.
Yeah. Like putting a Cybertruck with lift kit and underglow on dirt. and
Oh,
being
we're
like,
gonna
"Look
see
at
so
this."
many Cybertrucks.
I'll bet we do too.
Oh, it's gonna be insane.
That's unfortunate.
How much you want to bet we're going to actually see the coolest Cybertruck there, but that doesn't mean it's going to be cool. but it will be the
It's going to be a
Cybertruck.
diesel Cybertruck or
something.
Somebody's going to
Possibly. Somebody's got one swapped already.
LS powered or something.
Somebody's
Well,
got
there's several that apparently are swapped.
I guarantee it.
I saw one on social today, actually.
Oh, okay. That does not surprise me. I mean, like, I remember seeing footage from
how
like
they
the
do it.
first year that the like the Scion FRS came out back in whatever it was, 2012 or 2013. 2010. Okay, there was so many of them.
Yeah.
There was like hundreds, like maybe I don't know, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And so anything exciting, cool,
Yeah.
like I'm sure we're gonna see a ton of Cybertruck.
So you're telling me we're going to see some Hyundai Ioniqs?
yes,
Guaranteed. Well,
which Ioniq?
according to
Is
Chris,
the
the 5.
not bad. The 6 is awful.
I haven't seen that one
I
yet.
mean, I don't like them in general, but the 5 looks a lot better.
Well, and I don't know if they'll be just in the electrics area, the hall. They're
Yeah,
supposedly
I
just
saw there
one.
was an area
Right,
for that. Yeah,
right. So, no idea if they'll be scattered throughout or, if we can avoid it.
Well, I mean, maybe the Cybertrucks are going to be in the truck area or
Right.
off road
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
Could be.
I think it's 4x4 or something area.
I don't know. I wonder if they have to be an electric one because of safety.
Yeah, that's
Because-
a good question.
You know,
Maybe
they might
they have the
may-
fire suppression for the.
They have to have like a sanction for electric vehicles.
Yeah,
might
that
be
would
a
make
thing.
sense.
One of those catches on fire, they shut the doors and shoot off a halon system and everybody dies. Because you can't
Deprive
breathe.
the whole room of oxygen.
Yep, just
It's just CO2.
sorry I went down that road.
Yeah, bro, it's getting dark.
Dark.
I will say the one thing going to SEMA that's going to be very interesting on my kind of end, as you guys know, I'm used to more high-end Italian cars, is going to be seeing what any company does with Ferraris. Because as a Ferrari fan, most Ferrari purists, they don't like you changing the car.
Yeah, but
so how do you change
This is not a place for purism.
No, I get it. And that's what I'm saying is like,
It is not.
I want to see a stanced Ferrari.
Oh, there's one every year. I mean, so there's going to be another vendor that's like in like more like drift, I guess drift, JDM.
Yeah.
But they basically dress up all kinds of cars.
Yep.
In like wild Japanese style, Liberty Walk.
The Liberty Walk, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be there.
Their Ferrari
And
is amazing.
that's
they
the
have a
308,
few.
right? Or which
Yep.
one?
They have a.
They got a
Or no,
458
458
and
Italia.
they have an F40 too.
Yeah, they have an F40.
Yeah.
I mean, basically they'll be there for
That's
sure.
the one from Tokyo, right?
Yeah. they're
Okay,
from
I know
Tokyo.
exactly what you're talking about.
And then of course, I'm expecting because they've been there, or he's been there for the last 8 or 9 years. Rauwelt Begriff,
Yes.
RWB. I'm sure he's going to have at least a couple cars there, and
Yeah.
he does mostly Porsche, but
Porsche, yeah.
he's done a few other things too, just kind of one-off stuff.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
cool to see for sure.
But
So
what,
you're going to see some Ferrari or
What-
something that's going to piss you off.
well, that's what I'm saying is it's going to be interesting to see, like on that fine line, what still is like Ferrari and still kind of heritage and tweaked or whatever, but it still looks like that, or still it could be a Ferrari and could see as a purist be like, oh, I wouldn't know, I thought it was a special model, versus like the one that's like, big ass rims and spoilers and all sorts. That's just kind of insane. It's gonna be because like in the Ferrari world, those are seen as like not the best Ferraris.
Well, of course.
Oh, and yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is with the modified stuff we're going to see at SEMA, what's going to be in the quote unquote, like, Ferrari community, what would that be acceptable? What would be like, oh, this is done so well? And
Yeah,
we're-
I
You
would
might
say
be hard
Ferrari.
pressed to find something like that.
yeah,
I agree. I
that's
think
what-
Ferrari purists would frown on all of it.
I do too, but I think there's going to be stuff that's super tasteful.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like some of those. I mean, it surprises me that somebody would take an F40 and modify it, but damn, it looks
It
good.
does look
Yeah.
good.
So I can't bash it.
It's
They
weird
look
because I was
good.
going to say, like, from the Ferrari community, like, if you have a basic F40, a modification, quote unquote, is switching it all over to the
LM.
LM,
Yeah.
which is technically modifying it, but that's what the factory
it's
was
acceptable
done.
too. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was a guy who took a 355 Ferrari, twin turboed it, and put in, 348 Ferrari and twin turboed it, made 600 horses, but it's all made from Ferrari parts, and it's all the
So
engines
that's
look like-
acceptable.
yeah, and the interior is like from a
Period,
355 with
Or something. Yeah.
exactly. Things like that is what's going to be interesting for me to see on that one. I'm excited to see all sorts of builds there, but that is
Right.
also going to be one of the takeaways. I'm like, that was done, and
I hope there's one that hurts your feelings.
Oh, there probably is.
Oh, there's going to be a few.
I so hope there's one that
That'll
hurts
be
your
fun.
feelings.
That's
The podcast we do after that, he's just going to
Yes.
be crying in a corner.
I've got a list of all these cars that I.
Yeah.
specifically, it's going to be interesting because most time if people do that, Ferrari goes after them. Look at the Ferrari.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
If you have-
issue cease and desist
If you
letters and all
take
kinds of
a
stuff.
Ferrari and put it at the biggest stage in the world and say, "Look what we've done to this,"
Yeah.
and it doesn't meet their tastes,
Yep. They get upset.
they're going to come after you.
Well,
And
they
it's
got
because-
the money.
Yeah.
They do.
And it's because they own.
I have a
the-
problem with that.
I do too.
I do
I don't
too.
like it at all.
No,
I have a big problem with that too. It's an enthusiast car.
Yep.
I've
They own it.
Yeah, well, it's nuts because people have owned, like, say, an F40. A
Yeah.
billionaire owned an F40, made it an open top roof car,
Yeah.
and Ferrari went after him and made him remove all the badges off it and said it was no longer Ferrari and considered a total
Yeah.
car.
And
And like
they're
that,
trying to protect their brand, and I
Yeah.
sort of understand that. But once the car is sold,
It's out of your
it's
hands.
out of your
Yeah.
hands.
And why wouldn't you want people to modify it and make it their own?
Oh, I
mean,
would.
right, you would.
would.
My opinion is, it's like
Yeah.
if I was an automaker, and then look at companies like Singer and Gunther Works and Roof for the Porsche stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they're not allowed to call it a Porsche, but you know, Porsche is kind of allowing it to happen essentially because they're building these custom one-off cars based on their car. It's,
Right.
it's not
Yeah.
a terrible thing. It's just
They've sold it. It rolled off the assembly line as
That's it.
this, but it's gone. You know, they made their money on it.
Yep.
yeah.
Done.
I just don't understand
On to the next project,
backlash
pretty
from
much.
The manufacturer of all people. You think they'd be on to building the next thing? I don't care about that. It's already sold. It's gone.
Yeah.
So-
I don't want
as,
to do
as a Ferrari fan, that's one thing that I just can't stand about, especially the modern Ferrari, is them going after people like that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not cool.
No.
I agree. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
What kind of, Ian, as far as SEMA goes, like we kind of talked about, like I want to see the Resto Mods stuff and I want to get ideas for my own projects, even though I won't be able to go as crazy as they do because dollars and cents, right?
Uh-huh.
What about you? What are you looking for? Maybe ideas for your own stuff? I know that your car is done and ready to go, but there's always that next thought or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it on the way over here, and I was trying to think of like a new project car I'd want to start because I know we talked about it.
Yeah.
Something Ford related.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys know how much I love Ford. No offense to any of you guys in the room.
Love you, Ford guys.
I mean, realistically, like right now, I'm super happy with it. But like, I want to see like obviously a lot of LS swap stuff. I'm a big fan of that. I want to see the tightest place they can make it fit.
Sure.
I love stuff that's really well done, like tucked bays. I want to see like just clean show cars, but that are still like drivable and not sitting there airbag down on their frame.
Yeah.
Stance. I want to see something more like poised to actually drive.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm really looking for. But of course, I'm always looking for influence from my car too, because
Sure.
I'm on version 3 of how it looks and drives. So it's
Right.
like I'll never stop.
You never know when Gen 4s are right around the corner.
Exactly, dude. So I mean, I just want to see cool stuff. I want to see. I like the older '80s, obviously '80s and '90s imports. Whether it be a BMW E30, I'd love to see a really nice one of those, or an E30 M3. That's my favorite. If I could get a project car that was halfway burned down, piece of shit, I'm getting an E30 M3.
That's funny you said that because story that goes with that. So, so that would be your next project car.
Yes.
It would be an E30. Cool.
Yeah, E30 coupe.
Car that I saw burned out on the side of the road 3 days ago. It's still there today. PT Cruiser.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Another one bites the
rid of
dust.
it.
Somehow it's still drivable.
We only have like 50,000 to go, guys.
It's been there for 3 days. It is well toasted.
Oh, wow.
It's burned out.
Maybe more than 50,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Still running.
side
But
note.
when we get to the found for projects, you're going to like what I found.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. PT Cruisers, I'm sure.
Sure.
Yes.
Actually, I had one of those drive by me yesterday or a couple days
Was
ago.
it a Woody?
It had the
convertible?
Woody. It had the Woody. It was not a convertible. I was actually
bathtub.
Bummer.
looking at it going, Man, for a PT Cruiser, that one's in pretty good shape. Damn it.
He wants to buy it and take it to
No.
So I got a question for you
Why are
guys.
we raising our hand?
Grant in the corner, you have your hand up.
I'm so
Would you like to?
confused.
I'm the young child here, okay? I need to be.
Jeez Louise.
Question for you guys.
I ordered the tether for
Yeah.
you.
Did you?
For SEMA?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
coming in Amazon.
Is it the
Okay.
monkey backpack?
I'm not
Tell me
carrying.
it's a monkey.
I'm not carrying
I
him.
would wear a monkey.
I don't know who's going to carry him around in the backpack.
No, it's a
Oh,
monkey backpack.
it's with a leash
got a
built
leash
Oh, with
on
the
it.
leash on it. Okay. Yeah.
I actually would totally
It's a
wear
Jurassic Park
I know
one.
you
that.
would.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, for going to SEMA, are you guys going to be bringing extra cash with you, or have an idea of if you find something there you want, what is the most you would spend on it? Whether someone comes up to us that we've never met and says,
I thought
"I've got
you were asking if
it's
we're
Gen
going to
2
the strip
Camaro
club.
for $1,000. It's in Oregon, Rob," or "I've got an LFA motor right here that we've just."
I
had in
don't
our
think
shop."
this is a swap meet.
I mean,
But I'm saying if the people we're meeting, the connection we're meeting, whatever could happen, is there something that
well, I know that they
comes-
do pre-orders for a lot of cool parts that
That
got
too.
coming out, right?
Yeah.
They'll have an example there.
Sure.
I mean, it's there. They're like, this is what we're putting out. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to putting something down on something
Yeah.
that really fit my needs.
Sure.
Especially if it's like right there dialed in. I mean, there's so many cars. Of
mean,
course, I'm going to probably find something that I'm like, man, that'd be good to put on my car, you know?
I mean, if somebody's got a complete 8.3 liter V10,
that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
are you guys going to bring cash, or are you guys
I got a card.
I got a card with
Yeah?
cash.
Yep.
As good as cash.
Yeah.
you
I
go.
might bring
Good as
some
cash.
extra ones, but I don't know.
Ross going to be in Vegas?
Oh, I know where Jeremy's going.
The old
It's 8 o'clock
Sapphire.
in the morning. Where's Jeremy at? Ooh, I think he's down the street. He had a fistful of ones and he had a swagger going on. Okay, well, that was sorry. All right. Well,
Okay.
I guess we can shift gears again here.
Reel me back in my backpack.
Yep. It's got one of those retractable leashes on it. So I wanted to reel us back in, talk about project cars.
Yep.
We got a little bit of some notes. Just wanted to talk about for our project car enthusiasts, and we'll get into the cars that we've found online and highlight those again tonight. But talk about popular choices for project cars, and more specifically for the beginner project enthusiast. Maybe we've got a listener out there, somebody that's started listening to our podcast. They don't have a project car in the garage, but they're like, I'm excited about it, and I kind of want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Where do they start? What is a good starter
What
project?
age group?
Yeah. and-
Well,
Yeah, that's the first thing.
let's say mid to late 20s, maybe early 30s, somebody that can actually afford something and has the time, wherewithal, whatever, to work on it.
I'm going to say it again. I've said it before. I think the 08 to 2013 350Z is
Yeah.
an incredible car.
Good car. Yep.
It's an incredible car out of the box because it has a stout motor. It was way better than the 03s
Yeah,
to 07s, and you can still get them very affordable.
agreed.
And so that's one car, especially for the age range you just spoke about.
Sure. It's a good looking
And there's
car, too.
it's a great looking car. I've always loved the way they look,
Yeah.
especially when you get them lowered on some wheels
Yep.
with some simple aero. They really stand out. I've always liked the way they look. Another car that comes to mind, obviously a C5 Corvette.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
I
Great
mean,
platform.
just a great platform. And
So-
parts and aftermarket.
And what-
Everything's all of it. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. And I'm trying to incorporate
Mm-hmm.
the aftermarket support because there's a lot of cool cars that I
C5's
think.
C5 is fantastic.
And so is the Z.
The Z is too, yeah.
He has a ton of aftermarket.
Yeah, it really does.
So for the C5, I'm not sure early 20s I would recommend that.
No.
Maybe late 20s.
mid to late 20s.
Yeah, mid to late 20s, maybe 25.
for insurance reasons.
Yeah, 25, 26. I think I would even steer them away from it a little bit.
Well, the Z's not far behind it in performance
Yeah.
in 08. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just
No.
over 300 horsepower. It wasn't.
Well, it was
wasn't
right
a
at
slouch.
300. I had-
but it wasn't a slouch.
No, not bad.
Yeah.
A base C5 is, yeah, you're right. It's right there.
It's pretty much right there. But
Yeah.
I guarantee the C5's lighter.
No, I think they're about the same because I had a 2012, the 370 that tipped
Perfect.
the scales right at like 3,200 pounds.
Yeah.
3,190 or something dumb.
Sure.
So I
And
got-
the Corvette's
with
right there.
you in it?
It's the same.
Or just in the
Just
factory space?
Just curb weight.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
So I got two.
Okay.
Okay. Honda Civic. I think there's
Which trim?
Yeah. What level?
You know, if I was buying it, I'd probably look at like a 98, 99 VTEC, like an SI VTEC, the older ones.
Yeah, sure. SI, yeah.
But if I was talking about somebody, 22 to 25 years old, maybe something around the 2013, 2018.
All right. Well, let me ask you guys both. What, in your mind, when you say project car for that age range, 25 to 35, say, and these cars that you've recommended, what kind of project are we looking at? Are we turning it into a race car?
No, I think just like your standard
like the
running
350
project, right? Like
Just
you
a
get it
running
stock.
project car?
Yeah, you get it stock. You can throw the catback exhaust at it,
just
You
something
can
to
throw-
fix
you can
up a little
chip
bit
it.
and
Right, you can put
Take
wheels
that on
on it.
Friday
You can
night,
put coilovers on it, and you can do all these mods
Okay.
in one weekend once you get the parts.
yeah, okay, yeah,
And I think that's important.
Just
Now,
something
we're not
to
talking
work
full-scale
on.
build, right?
right. Something to work on, something to be able to take out and drive it. You could daily it if you
You
want
could
to.
definitely. That's another thing I was considering. You could
Yeah.
daily it, and then, like I said, you get you save up for that mod. You get your wheels and tires. You put it on, instant gratification. You're
Yeah.
driving it that day.
Yeah.
For sure, you're right.
It's-
yeah,
And so that's kind of how I considered those mods
I
or
like
those
that.
cars.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
The
And
second
same
one?
with the Honda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second one would be a WRX.
Okay. Yeah. I see a lot of the what
Tons of aftermarket support.
what
That's true.
year range is affordable
Oh God.
that is still something worth fixing up.
I think you could
Like
go
it hasn't
buy-
blown 3 head gaskets already.
I think you could go buy a 2017 right now for sub 20.
Yeah, he's
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't hold their value well, but
Okay.
for the enthusiast that's like into something all-wheel drive turbo car, I mean, it's a good deal.
Go out
And you could
to
put a
I
new
mean,
motor in it for
basically,
less than $3,000.
That's true. And then, I mean, compared to the Evos,
yeah.
and the Evos have just skyrocketed in price. It's
Okay.
it's insane. Because I remember just like right before COVID, like 2018, you could get an Evo 8 or even an Evo 9 for less than 20 grand.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah, now
no
they're
way
60.
you're touching it. Yeah, 40 to 60.
no kidding.
It's nuts, dude.
That's insane.
But they're great looking cars.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be honest, Mitsubishi was never known for their reliability. But they're
Yeah.
cool, and when they work, I mean, the
Oh,
performance, they
they're
smoke
fast
the
as shit.
WRX.
They are fast as
In
shit.
every
yeah.
way, they smoke the WRX.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Well, in the WRX though, you can take the thing out and rally cross it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can
You
do
know.
it with an Evo too if you wanted.
That's true.
I wouldn't though,
Yeah.
just for the value.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Seems like I'm not super familiar with the Evos. Like I don't know what their suspension setup is, but it seems like the WRX is a little better equipped or aftermarket availability. No,
So it's interesting you say that.
Maybe aftermarket.
Maybe,
Aftermarket, yeah.
but stock for stock.
Evo.
We were talking about what is it? Top Gear and Grand Tour.
Right.
They compared every gen
Oh,
side
okay.
by side.
cool.
And every single time the Evo came out on
Yeah.
top.
All right.
So, I mean, maybe, right? For modified
Yeah.
rallycross, if you're like doing lifted suspension and stuff, probably.
Yeah.
But the Mitsubishi has a better chassis.
It is,
It's
yeah.
Better chassis,
Yeah.
better motor, better all-wheel drive system.
Yeah.
There you
It
go.
was a better car.
Yeah.
All right.
At least
those are good.
stock to stock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, depending on what you want to do with your car.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like how the Subaru layout is, in
Man.
line or, longitudinal.
Yes. Yeah.
And, the transfer case is set up right behind the transmission. Like that's cool. Whereas the Evo's a Haldex or whatever they call it, kind of a front wheel drive setup.
right.
But it's still a good setup. And you guys make
No, they
big
work well.
power with them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they work really well.
So I was thinking about this, and 2 questions have to be asked before anything is questioned on best project car,
Okay.
best opening thing. Because we were talking 20 to 35. So the first thing is, if a person is working on a project car, do they have the space to have a non-running project car?
We're assuming maybe. I mean,
Because
we don't know.
It's totally different
It's
if you're having
random.
a running project car versus
absolutely.
a non-running one.
Yeah, so they've pointed out potential running cars, something that you can do your mods on the weekend and still drive it to work on Monday.
And then
right?
the second thing I was going to say was,
Yeah, that's kinda what I
and
was
we
getting
hit
at.
a little bit, was
Yeah.
what is the overall goal that you're doing with it? Is this the second car you have? Is this the daily driver that you're working on?
Right.
I think probably if you're just getting into projects and wanting something to learn on, I think probably the first best one would be like a Chevy truck, an old like a 90s 2000 Chevy truck, or a Ford, whether it's a SUV or a truck of some kind, because parts are readily available.
Why would you choose an SUV, especially a Ford? Because what are you going to get, an Explorer?
Because it breaks
Or an
yeah.
expedition.
Get out of here.
Exactly, 'cause you need to,
Nobody wants that.
I'm talking the first project to learn on.
Still,
Those are going to break.
Still would not choose that.
I mean,
Yeah.
not even.
You wouldn't
I have
remotely.
I have an 02 Sierra, right? And I love that truck. I'll never get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you got to be a truck guy
Exactly.
to want to modify that.
And that's fine.
I'm not
But they're
talking about,
awesome.
No, I'm not
They're
talking about
awesome.
modifying. I'm talking about project. If you're just starting
Okay.
out to learn how to actually wrench,
Mm-hmm.
okay, whether that's a water pump replacement, an alternator, maybe you got to put new injectors in.
Do not get an Explorer.
Well, I'm
Just saying.
If it's
No.
you're most likely going to find one with problems, and that's something to fix.
Yeah, you're
That's-
gonna-
That's
a lot of
something
problems.
to wrench on. You know.
You could have
That's
told
not
him
the point of the
Cyclone.
How
Okay,
about hey?
all right, back it up.
Yeah, can we stick to like
Back
maybe
it up.
what we're talking about?
Let's
what
stick
about
to
a car?
fun project. This is not
Okay.
a project car to just learn how to work on.
Okay, I
something.
thought we were talking about like entry to getting into. Okay.
Well, it is
It is.
entry level, but think about somebody's. They don't want a fucking Ford Explorer sitting in the driveway. Nobody wants to work on that. There is no motivation whatsoever. I mean, if they're a truck guy,
Yeah.
cool. Go get yourself a late model C10. Maybe something
Yeah,
late 80s
that'd
or
be
90s.
cool.
A nice
Yeah.
square body.
Yeah.
They still look cool. Parts are everywhere. Easy to work on if you're a truck guy.
I
Great.
had an 86 Chev that I would 100% take back.
Well,
right
yeah,
now
I
if
mean-
could get it.
Yeah,
I mean, Rob's got one.
Yeah.
I do.
Right,
Well, a
so-
60s one, but yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying. It's
Yep,
still a
absolutely.
truck.
It's a truck.
You got
Yeah.
My kind of thing was you bring it back to just basic essentials where it's just like easy to work on engine and it's got a lot of support. And that's why I was
Sure.
thinking one of those two, because if you buy a Nissan, you buy a Toyota, an early one, going to be harder to find parts.
Oh yeah, 70s and 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's
The
why,
olders.
I was thinking easy first project, something to do.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we're talking
Your choice
fun-
of vehicle for whatever reason
Yeah,
is
if-
weird,
If
but
we're talking about fun projects for going on,
Yeah.
my first two gut instincts is saying, or three cars is Camaro, Corvette, Mustang.
Yeah,
You buy
yeah.
something that's
Great.
a million of them are made.
Million
that
cars.
forums are everywhere
In
about
our
it,
country.
that videos are everywhere. You're gonna find some information about it because
Agreed.
again, we're talking about 30 to 25 starting off first project.
even a Volkswagen, if you're into that.
Exactly.
Hell yeah.
Whatever project you buy, you want to that you're starting out.
Yep.
One, you got to fall in love with it, and two, if you want to find something with a good amount of network of knowledge on it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to be willing to jump in,
Correct.
being the first to figure it out.
The research
Or-
can be hard.
Yeah.
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 Like the best example is I was never a Fiat guy, and I dove in that not knowing anything about it, and
Right.
it's very hard to find in the information about a 1 year off only kind
Sure.
of car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a good first one.
No.
Not a good first
No, not a
project.
good first
you know,
That's you're going to carry the cross with that one.
Exactly. But that was me jumping into it and going on that versus say Liger.
Yeah.
There's millions of Mustangs out there.
Yeah.
And tons of aftermarket car parts.
Exactly.
Right. And support,
Yeah.
So
whether it be from the community or
so I think whoever starts with whatever kind of project, I think one of those big three, Corvette, Camaro, Mustang, any year is going to
Oh
be
yeah. Whatever you can get into
exactly.
at that point.
what can you afford?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Affordability obviously comes into it.
Yeah, and that's also why I picked those
and-
three because you can get any of those cars.
Oh, I agree.
On the used market for under 20 grand, except
I
for the
think,
Corvette,
like-
depending on the year.
yeah, depending on the year.
Yeah.
I think in condition, but
Yeah.
like Fox Body is a great place right now to start. If you're a Ford guy, go for it.
Yep.
Fox bodies are not bad. They're, and
Aftermarket's unlimited.
it is. There's shit tons of stuff you can do with that car, and it's fun to drive.
And
great cars.
the one thing that's great about those three cars is that they made it so for most of them that the parts from like say a Fox body,
Yeah.
parts from a
lot of crossovers.
2012 will fit on that.
Yes.
Same with a Camaro, newer parts will fit on. Same,
Yes.
they're interchangeable like Legos.
Yeah. The research on that may be a little more difficult for inexperienced, but that's where your network helps.
Yeah, but that's the first thing you want to. If you're first getting into a project, you want to have something where you have the availability of parts and knowledge, because otherwise it's just frustrating. It's going to sit there while you're doing research and might not work, or you're waiting on things.
Well, and that was my thought with the starter project car. Maybe it's not your daily driver, and that's cool because that's a project
better.
car too.
Yeah.
I agree, even better, because you can take it apart one day and all right, this didn't go so well, or it's going to take me more time.
Yeah.
I'm not rushed to get it back together by Monday.
Right.
Sunday night, you're out there laying in the driveway at 11 o'clock because you got to drive to work and it's still not working.
Yeah.
Sucks.
So,
But yeah, that's where a Fox body is a great car because parts are readily available. They're fairly inexpensive right now. That'd be a good car, good starter. I disagree with a Corvette in that it's more expensive.
Oh, it's
harder to get it. A C3 is affordable right now, but they're junk.
I mean, like a C6,
They're in bad
C7 when you start getting in that newer.
Agreed.
That's what I mean.
But
Cost
they're
is
expensive,
not affordable. C5 base.
Yeah.
And
You can do that
can
for
get-
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get in a beater for 10 to 12. It's
Yeah.
not going to be pretty.
Right.
Yeah.
It won't be pretty.
But it will probably
run.
Probably run.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that would be a decent project,
It's
but
a great project.
it does depend on what you want to do with it.
Right. And if it is a daily driver, I need it to be a daily driver project.
Yeah, buy
I would
something
not
better.
buy a $10,000 C5. I
No.
highly recommend you don't.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so the other thing I was going to say is the other second car that I'd recommend for someone that's looking to start into it. What Jeremy was saying. Any Honda, Toyota, anything with a four-banger.
Yeah.
Anything with a four-banger that's just easy to get to.
Well,
Because-
Hondas are king for
availability.
that because,
Yeah.
I mean, aftermarket's insane, right?
Well, the reason I say anything with four-banger or in Honda and Toyota, because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what model. Parts are available everywhere, like you were saying, Ian. But
And
that's
they
also
swap really easy.
They swap
Yes.
really easy with whatever. It doesn't matter if you're in, say, a Lexus or say you're into a Nissan. Easy to work on when there's just four cylinders in front of you, a big engine bay, and then it gives you more opportunities for turbos or for supercharging, and then go to JDM route, with all their upgrades.
Right.
And everyone's done everything under the sun on say like a Honda Accord or, a Toyota Camry, which may be a commuter car, but people have put like 800 horses into them. They've put, different aftermarket support,
Yeah, there's a lot of support. Well, and there's a lot of support online. Like
Knowledge.
you can learn knowledge. Thank you. You can learn anything you need or want to do on YouTube, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
So if you're new to projects, you've got great resources. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's really good.
Yeah, those are both good.
What about you, Rob?
Well, I kind of put it out there. I think the Fox body is a great platform for a project car that's going to sit, not your daily driver.
Right.
Something you want to work on. You can pick them up super cheap.
Yeah.
Probably not running, but still, there's that's pretty easy.
You
Whether
can
it's
get
got
a-
a motor or not, you can get a new motor inexpensively.
And a harness and everything. You need to
Everything.
get it running.
You can get a really good-looking non-running car for pretty cheap.
Oh,
I
very
agree.
cheap.
Yeah, the bodies seem to hold up pretty well as long as they haven't been wrecked or whatever. But
Right.
I think that's a good project car. If you don't like Mustangs, I'm not sure what's great in the Chevy side.
Third gen Camaro.
Yeah, IROC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah,
They're
third gens,
cool. That's-
they're still affordable.
Yeah.
They are starting to climb,
They
but
are.
right now they're still affordable. A lot of them are really clapped out.
Oh, yeah.
really clapped out.
Yeah.
So you'd
And
have
the
to be a
interiors
little
did
bit
not
picky.
hold up well.
They didn't. They were cheap.
Not compared to the Mustangs.
No, they were really cheap, the interiors. So
Yeah.
you'd have to be a little bit picky and know kind of what you're getting into. Like, if
Right. They squeak.
stuff's-
They all squeak. I mean,
they're
just-
rattly.
They're just, yeah, they're just,
they're a fun ass car.
oh, they're great looking cars. And I mean, if you like,
They're fun to drive.
oh, they're sweet. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always liked the look of them.
Yeah.
The dude
a buddy
you're
of mine in
buying
high
that
school had
from
one.
too probably has a mullet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, you probably have a mullet if you're buying it.
Or want one.
I'd grow.
secretly.
Yeah, exactly. I want
grow
one.
it. Buy it.
Exactly. I can't grow a mullet, but I would buy it.
I just thought of a car that all of us forgot to throw in there, which had just hit me right now. Miata.
Oh God, great car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a good project.
Fabulous.
No matter
It
what
is.
you're in, drifting, building,
Autocross, spec racing.
it's
Yeah.
hard to argue against the
the
Miata.
answer's always fucking Miata.
But
You can LS swap it.
You
for
hear the guys.
Damn it.
Miata is always the answer.
Yeah.
yes, it is.
But
No, you're right. That's a
good
great
project.
That's a great
And
one.
they're still
Parts are
there's-
so cheap.
They're still
they're
they're going up in value.
Going up in price.
They
but
are.
you can still get them, under 15, 20 grand, but still have a
Oh
platform
gosh,
that
you can get them even
Oh,
cheaper
you can
than
get
that
a
still.
first gen for 3 to 5.
Yeah, agreed.
Clapped,
Yeah.
but it'll
Yeah.
still be.
But
some
you-
of them aren't too bad.
That's
I
true.
see them go on the drift pages all the time for $5,000 the first gen. The
Yeah.
NAs.
Yeah, clapped
and then
out.
the NBs, they're a little higher up, and then of course the Cs and the Ds are they're up there.
yeah.
Yeah,
But like a Mazda Speed C, the NC gen, like third gen, those are going for pretty good money now because they were turbo from the factory.
Yeah.
They didn't make many of them.
oh well.
So they are they're sought after. But
Yeah.
the first 2 gens you can get for a very good price.
and that's, I
if
think-
you can fit in them.
Yeah, and that's
the other
and
issue.
even if you don't, they still make kits for lowering pans and for bigger people.
No, they do.
Like-
and I've sat in a couple of them, and honestly, even my big ass, I could still feel comfortable in there. It
Yeah.
wasn't terrible in the first gen.
Yeah.
Second gen, it was hard. I'd have to do some modifications to fit, but I liked the way they looked better. That was a problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
But yeah, they're
Yeah.
great cars.
They're fun to drive.
Yeah.
awesome.
So
So yeah, I think I think you're right. Third gen Camaro's great. You can still find that affordably. Like they're still going for $2,000, $2,500.
Yep.
With a motor, whether it runs or not's another story. But whatever. You probably want to look for one with an interior because those parts are hard to find, and that's going to drive your price up a little
Yep.
bit. But still, whatever. And then the other, we're not VW guys here, but I do think that's a decent platform for a project.
even though it was a VW Tech, okay, sure.
I didn't know
You
that.
didn't bring it up.
No. When have
Wasn't
you
on
ever
your
said
list.
that?
I know, right?
Jesus Christ. Arturo's not here. He's the
Yeah.
VW guy.
The VR6 is a good.
Oh, it's
The only
incredible
issue
motor.
I have with Volkswagens is as they age, they have a lot of electrical issues.
tons.
So be prepared.
But
for that.
and then also, I will say I've only worked on a handful of them. I did help my buddy Brian. He put together a 2002 or something. We were in high school. Jetta 180 and a full bolt-ons. It was a sweet car, and
Yeah.
it was actually very formidable. It was fast, dude.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, but then I swapped a clutch on a Gen 3 Jetta, and it was a nightmare. I mean, you
Oh,
need so many
no
specialty
kidding.
tools. 12-point sockets. I mean, you know what I'm talking
Yep.
about, Grant. It's just, there's so many things that we had to run to the store just to get to even pull
Yeah.
a clutch on it.
So I
Whereas
guess
on a
be
Honda,
careful of what you're.
on a Honda, you could have that
thing.
thing out in 2 hours and
Yeah.
back in running a swap in a day.
Cool.
Yeah.
With a 10 millimeter, a
Yeah.
9 millimeter,
12.
12
You gotta find a
millimeter
10
wrench.
first.
Well, yeah, you gotta have a bag or a bucket of tens because
Yeah.
they're gonna
Hon-
roll
Did
away.
You guys know
Hondas are super. Is for a front wheel drive car. Of course, they're not fun to work on, right? Because
Yeah.
it is still cramped and stuff.
Yeah,
But dude, I mean, they're so simple.
yeah.
real fast. Did you guys know that Harbor Freight now says a 10 millimeter kit? It's
with
just sockets and
all
wrenches
10s.
and all sorts of different things, and they're all 10s.
That's really
Is
funny.
it plated gold?
No.
You seen their?
No, it's
I
just a
guess
bunch
I haven't
of them.
Gold plated. Oh,
No,
that's
I haven't been in there in a while.
okay. Well, I need a
Yeah.
gold one.
You need a gold
I
one.
saw the gold 2 ratchets,
Yeah.
the 3/8 and a half. I'm like, oh, that's pretty sick, dude.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Do you
man.
mind if I expand on that question we asked about earlier for all of us?
Which one?
What question?
One
Before I
where
say
it's
yes.
beginning starting project.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that what we're still
Well,
on?
Yeah,
we talked
I think
about.
so.
I think the two categories we haven't touched on for project cars is we're thinking like performance, right? And we're thinking like what to work on the wrench on.
Well,
On
all right. No, but okay.
my thought process is what's a good first starting project for under 2 categories. 1, paint and body prep. And 2, for
yeah.
interior. Because we have listeners that aren't motor people or performance people.
Sure.
And they like the look of a car.
Yeah.
So what would you guys recommend?
To work on? What car to work on?
Yeah, what
for
would
that?
be a good one for starting if you wanted to learn how to paint and bodywork?
Third gen Camaro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something flat-sided, mostly metal.
Yeah. And,
Not
or
a-
again, the Fox body.
Not, I mean, terrible clip crap.
Right.
Nothing with cladding.
Right. No
Nothing
rubber.
With, no
or
trim.
yeah, the trim pieces, the
no
plastic
no
trim
bump
pieces.
strips.
Right.
Early 90s Chevy pickup.
Yeah,
Yes.
flat side pickup.
Yes, the OBS they call it.
Why do they call it that?
Old body style. And I don't know when everybody decided that was the old body
Oh
style.
shit, that's funny.
I had a 94 Sierra or something.
Okay.
5-speed short box. It was slammed. It was freaking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And but they are so clean and simple looking.
You know, even that Ford pickup,
Yeah.
F-150, the early '90s,
Yeah, that thing was so nice.
for doing body work.
yeah, I mean,
that'd
it's
be a
so
great truck.
similar.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
So similar to the Chevy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
And the like F-150s, there's probably 1 million of them in the junkyard right now.
Yep.
Pretty good bet.
Or at least you can drive to Sherwood or wherever across
Yeah.
town or
yeah,
a couple towns over and find what you need.
yeah.
I was thinking something like a BMW or a
Yes.
Volkswagen.
E30.
Because
30.
they're rounded, but they're not overly complicated rounded.
I'm going to
Yes.
disagree with
and so
the
if you want to learn how to do paint,
The E30
Depending
though?
on what
gonna
year.
Yeah.
Okay, so what year? Because the E30 does, the one I'm thinking of is fairly straight line.
Right, it's like 84 through
Okay.
93 or
Yeah.
so.
I was thinking like 2000s,
Okay.
like when
Oh, well, those are definitely harder to work
So
on.
when you're doing body work, you have to take a bunch of that stuff apart. Right?
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
BMWs
Clips, cladding.
have a lot of specialty tools.
And
Yeah.
they do.
So
I can see that.
I would try to
Yes,
steer
yeah.
people away from those as a first.
For a body work
As
car.
a second one, third one, maybe. Okay.
Know what you're
Great.
getting into.
Yeah. know what you're getting into
could,
now.
It could be frustrating and overwhelming. I see what you're saying, Jeremy.
what about for body style? What about like an RX-8? I'm trying to think of
I mean,
something
you
that
can
would
get
be-
one for cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they cheap?
That'd be a good
Yeah.
car. Oh, yeah. they're
RX-8s,
super
they were
cheap.
the bastard
would-
child.
I would not want the rotary.
Or go like a 350, like you
They
were
can
saying.
be good motors,
something,
though.
something curvy would
Not
give
my
someone
thing is all.
a little bit, of a challenge because if it's straight line, it just sand it down, spray it. But if you got something that you've got,
Well,
to
you
take
can
your time-
find a clapped 350, like the early ones, the
Oh, gosh.
03s, for
Cheap.
nothing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it probably it has oil leaks and shit like that, but it'll still run, and you could definitely do the body work on it
Yeah.
if that was your goal.
Yeah.
was to
Those
do
bodies
body
didn't
work.
have a lot of stuff on
No,
them
they
either.
didn't. And all the parts are cheap. The handles, the mirrors, the headlights. I mean, they're pretty affordable.
Yeah.
So you could make one. You could dress one up really nice.
Interior would be fun to work on one of those too. They're not super.
They're not bad.
Super complicated.
Yeah, my buddy Vinny, who I want to get on the podcast, he bought one just for a drift, just a It's just a
Yeah.
drift car.
Yeah.
He's got another cool project too, but I think we got 2 outside door handles, 1 door panel, 1 mirror, 1 headlight for nothing.
Rail.
Like
Yeah.
used or even not, just
Yeah.
parts on eBay for
eBay specials.
Right, dude.
Yeah.
And once we threw all that shit on, it looks good,
Yeah.
and it was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of interiors, though, because like I said, the second part of it is what would be also good for interior.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking upholstery and stuff. I think it would be good in
For a-
this kind of going older and going classic, where you find like something from the 60s. And the benches are all rotted out, or seats are.
So are you thinking more of a first time interior practice
Yeah.
run? I think a truck is perfect.
Yeah, truck.
You know,
There's
a
not
bench
a lot.
seat. There's not a lot.
Even-
Door cards
even
are
the
really
buckets.
simple.
yeah.
Even the buckets. I mean, what's that?
Yeah.
CMC or whatever that they remanufacture all the American truck parts.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, they sell frames for seats.
Something-
They sell
Yeah.
foam.
I mean,
for seats,
if you want to just
covers.
buy it, it's everywhere.
No, I'm
right?
saying you have to put it together still.
Okay.
They'll just send if one of your frames is rusted and rotted out,
Yeah.
you can buy the seat frame
Yeah.
and transfer your foam over and put covers on it. It's pretty nice, dude.
You can buy all the separate
You can
pieces
buy all the
as well.
separate
I've
pieces.
noticed, like you can
Yeah.
get quote unquote covers,
Yeah.
and I think Grant, you did this to Liger.
It's not a cover. It's
No.
full.
It's the seat.
skin.
Yeah, the skin.
It's-
there you go.
yep.
Because you got to take the old one off and put the new one
Put
over
new
the
leathers
foam
on, by the way.
and
Yep.
get it all tied down.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty good way to go because actually doing interior yourself, there's very few people have that skill.
Well, I was also going to say.
Yeah, you're not
Like,
gonna be able to do
from
it.
scratch, that doesn't happen.
I was also going to say, shout out to previous guest Chris Compton. Compton. Distinctive Industries.
yep.
So if you're getting into interior, you can also go from them and try to figure out what
Yes.
they've got, and then that gets you into just like okay,
Yep.
buy a kit, put it together, and
Agreed. Yeah.
from there, then you could be like, okay, what else now do I want to customize? What else do I want to reupholster?
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Buying the separate pieces, and that's something I'm going to be looking at for probably both of my project vehicles, my Corvette especially.
Yeah.
Yep.
Redoing the seats with some kind of skin or whatever,
Yeah.
and new foam.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
thi-
it's all available, which is really
That's
awesome.
the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's something to consider when we talk about these project cars or
Yeah.
trucks. You want something where parts are available. I mean, the Fiat,
Yeah.
it's hard to find, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's all custom.
It's either
Well, let's
all
go
custom-
down that road. What is not a good project for a first project car guy?
Lancia.
Lancia.
Yeah, could.
Yeah, I would
Or-
not run a Lancia.
Yeah.
Especially
There's-
the ones in the America that we got. You're never finding
No.
parts.
Here's one I will say, and this goes back to again experience. Fieros specifically,
Yes.
88.
Fiera. Oh, the
80
last year. Didn't
88
make
was
many.
a great car. They finally got the suspension dialed in and everything for it.
They looked awesome.
But the main thing was parts are getting harder. When I was looking
Because
for
that's a good one.
no, we're saying not good ones, right? Not recommended.
No, you're saying parts are getting harder for that Fiero because that's a good Fiero. Why?
Correct.
Okay.
Like for example, the rear brakes on that one are specific for that year only.
Gotcha.
No other Chevy model or anything has that. I, for my Lambo, because it's based off of Fiero, an '88 Fiero specifically, could not find any rear brake calipers for that in the entire U.S. I found one person in Missouri who sells Fieros, and he's told me he's been running out of '88 calipers, and he sent me cores.
Yeah.
Because he knew after talking to him expensively on the phone that I'm going to rebuild them,
Yourself.
redo it completely.
Yeah.
He's like, there's none left. He's like, I used to do this, but people were getting, killed or brakes would fail. But he's like, talking to you sound like you know what you're doing and you're going to do all this. I'm like, yes. That would be a car I would not recommend because,
Right.
if you're getting into it, again, me and my thing going Fiat and then going Fiero,
Right.
finding the rare ones and starting to build custom stuff.
Yeah.
Mid-engine.
Yeah, but they're so fun.
Well,
I mean, they're great cars.
MR2.
I love
What
the
about
cars.
it? What about MR2?
They sold so many of them.
oh yeah.
And so it's like, that would be a great car.
That'd be a great one. AG.
I had an AW11.
There we go.
I never had an SW20 the second gen, but I had my AW11. I loved it, dude.
Yeah.
I bought it for $1,200 right down the street from
No
here.
kidding.
Yeah, when I was like 17 years old.
Oh wow.
And it was immaculate.
I want to
White.
get one of those spaceships.
It was white. It
So-
had all the ground effects on it from the factory. It had like the Toyota like clear
Vinyl.
rear back panel that you could see
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Toyota on top of the car from the back. I don't know
right.
if you guys remember that.
I remember that.
It was a cool option.
Yeah.
And so I just got lucky. It was really quick. I bought it off Craigslist.
Was
but
it a turbo car?
No. They only came supercharged in that gen.
Supercharged,
First
no
gen.
turbos?
Yeah,
Yeah.
first
Okay.
gen was supercharged.
Okay.
My buddy Andy had one though. He had a purple one, which is like super rare. That was the rarest color supercharged they made.
Interesting.
And then the second gen was turbo, and I always wanted one.
okay.
But here again, going back to this, I didn't fit in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sat in the second gen, and I was like, gosh, just a little too tight.
And that's why they made the convertible third gen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I always loved the look of them.
Yeah.
And
So
they're
what?
great cars.
What do you think of that as a project car? Because
I think it's a great.
we know somebody that works on those. Pretty,
Yeah, I think
you know.
the first gen is going to be harder to find parts for, but yet
Yeah.
they sold so many of them around the world that
Yeah.
it's still easier to find
Pretty
in a
readily
Camaro
available parts.
or like a F body Camaro. Like I don't
Well,
know.
and apparently-
on one hand,
apparently
or a
there's a
Fiero for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
going to smoke Fiero as far as parts availability.
Yeah.
Parts availability.
and probably on the street too.
Yeah,
But-
well,
I apparently there's a lot of different motors that will just bolt right in as well, which
Yep,
is kind of cool.
there's the Camry V6. That's a
Right.
really popular one. I think it was the
one out of a minivan.
VFZE or something. And then the obviously the one that came in the Japanese variant. We did get them here in the 3S GTE, which was a 2-liter inline-4 turbo, and great motor. And then in Japan they actually kept making those for more years. They made them into like 99 or something.
Oh,
And we only got them from 93 to 95. So we only got the S1 and S2, whereas in Series 1 and Series 2. And then over there, they got Series 3 and 4.
Oh.
And it came with an even better, more refined motor with, better tuning and cooler taillights, cooler headlights.
any of those make it to
Yeah.
the U.S.?
No,
Imported?
but yeah, imports. Yeah, people are, it's a big thing to sell those motors and stuff like that. And it's a great community, man. I know a couple guys with MR2s. They're freaking sweet.
That's cool. I just threw that one out randomly because we were talking about mid-engine car. But
I just thought of another one that someone should not buy as their first project.
yes, go.
A half-done kit car.
Yeah,
to that.
Amen.
You want to talk about hard? If you're going to find out what someone's already done or not done, you got to find parts that are already.
You might not want to go too deep on this because you're going to be selling one here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, but that's.
I'd get into that one.
I'm still going to.
And I'll tell you what, it's sweet. I mean, everybody loves the novelty of having a replica or a kit car. I do.
Yeah.
I've always wanted one.
Yep,
So,
there's certain ones that I do want.
Yeah. The thing is, though, and I'm still going to go down this rabbit hole because that's the thing. I went through this.
Okay.
And I know I'm going to get it running and finished soon. The thing about picking up one is you have the challenge of overcoming what did the previous person do.
Yeah.
You've got to figure out, okay, what's it based off of? And our parts are rarely available for not only the car it's based off of, but then the kit you want. For example, the Lambo, it is not easy to find a full instrument cluster gauge from a Countach.
No.
And then you do, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And then finding out how you're going to wire that up to, say, a Fiero or an MR2.
Right.
How is that going to
Right.
interact?
Yeah, there's
Let's
a
go
lot
on a
of
whole
MR2.
different subgenre. Let's go with a Shelby, a Cobra. You know, because everyone, it's a 351, 302, 50, whatever.
289.
Those are great.
Yep.
You know, once you start getting in the interior, how are you going to get, what kind of fuel tank you're going to need? What kind of gauges are going to be on that one? Are they going to go, you know,
I do feel like, though, on the Cobra side, parts are more available. That
Yes.
stuff is everywhere.
Yes.
But
So if you're going to do one, that'd probably actually be a pretty decent one to do.
yeah.
I think you're right.
I think like a harder one would be like those MGs that are converted into the 30s Mercedes, the 1930s Mercedes. Know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
Something like
Sweet,
that.
the gull wings.
No. I'm talking like the old, like
Oh.
you know,
The
people.
elongated ones with the fenders.
Correct.
Like that. Yeah. Okay. I know.
Like I think any kit car that's just of a really crazy
Obscure.
car. Yeah.
Kind of obscure.
Like
yeah.
here's one.
yeah,
a
that's a terrible
GT40
idea.
off a Volkswagen.
Ugh, a Bradley.
Yeah.
That's a terrible idea.
It is.
or the
They're not
Porsche
good.
917s.
Agreed. They also don't. I love a 917,
Yeah.
but a replica on a Volkswagen chassis is
Not-
terrible.
not a good way to
They
go.
don't
It's your-
look good.
If it's your first project and
Yeah.
you're starting from ground up, that might not be too bad because you know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're taking over someone's project, you've got to
That's an uphill battle.
from there on.
Yeah.
You know, you got to pick their mind, know what they're thinking, go and build that. What did they do? What they not? You're going to be re-going over people's steps a lot of time.
yeah.
I wouldn't recommend any kit car for somebody.
For a pro-
Not
I was
for-
just
for-
going to say that.
unless you've got serious coin and a lot of time
And knowledge.
and
You should
knowledge and
already have that
resources.
knowledge.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Because I there's a few kit cars I absolutely love, and I've always been fascinated with like the Factory 5 racing stuff.
Yes.
Like
Exactly.
I love all of those. You
But
know.
I think you can buy those as a full kit.
Yeah, it's a
full
minus
kit.
the motor.
right.
Or
Well,
minus the drivetrain.
yeah,
drivetrain. Yeah. Well, not. It's still there's chassis components you still have to source for
There's a
some of
few.
them.
Yeah,
For
there's-
some of them.
Yeah. There's various levels of that kit that
Right,
you can buy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been fascinated with
I'm
it because
right there with
I'd
you.
love to build one.
Yep.
Right, because the build is half the thing for me.
Yeah.
I love just getting into it and seeing the vision and doing the thing. You know, like all of us, or a lot of our listeners probably too. But you know, I'm not going to go out and buy some one-off '90s kit car
That somebody else started.
that somebody
Yeah.
else started
Yeah,
and
a
that's
Kelmark-
probably missing
Kelmark
half the
GT.
shit that you can't replace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
I
you
do
do,
like
you better
seeing
be
'em.
ready. Oh, I love seeing them.
I love seeing them on Marketplace and stuff. I'm like, oh, man. I'm sorry.
That's my next divorce.
Sorry, bro.
So, like Jeremy, I wouldn't say all kit cars because the one
No?
Ian brought up one like
No?
the Factory 5.
That's
Factory
not
5
your first car, though.
no, hear
That's
me out.
not your first.
Hear me out. Factory 5 specifically, and in their advertising, I don't know if you could back me up on this, Ian, or not,
ahead.
is the 818. It says when they had it for their advertising, that they won in
Is that the
some
one
of the
with the
videos.
Subaru?
It's the Subaru one they built mid-engine, and they
Yes.
specifically
Love
built
that
it
one.
for like under 10 grand starting.
Yeah.
And they built it because I think it was the
for fathers
CEO
and
said
sons.
fathers and sons building it at
Absolutely,
home.
bro.
I do remember.
What a
seeing
I
great,
that.
feel like
what a
that-
great car.
That would be a great one if you're starting. That's why I can't say all project cars. But if you're starting one that someone's already started, like say if you have a
yes.
father and son that don't know what they're doing and
I'll
you
agree
picked
with
it up,
I'll agree with that one.
you know,
No, that
It should use basic
what
tools,
comes
too.
to mind is that is a very good one to start with, man.
yeah.
So
Because you know, and I think they're still making that one. There's a couple they're not
believe they are.
making. Yeah, that I was kind of bummed to see that we're gone. I think they're like flagship mid-engine one, the LS V8 mid-engine, freaking badass.
That's the GTX.
GTX, yeah, or
GTX,
GTM or something.
Yeah.
That one. I don't think they're making that anymore.
Oh.
Probably because they didn't sell many of them.
No.
And it was probably a huge project, and it was a labor of love,
Right.
which is cool. But I think, but even still, let's flash forward 10, 15 years from now. Is Factory 5 going to be around? I hope so.
I hope
Right.
so.
And I hope other companies are too.
Yeah.
But even still, it's going to get rare to get parts. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to build shit yourself and do custom.
Well, what they'll have to do is figure out what new donor car are people going to use, right?
Right. I was
Yeah.
trying to find one.
That's the thing about
in
the
the junkyard?
the Factory 5, and there's another couple other companies.
There are.
Super performance.
Super Performance,
Super
RCR,
Performance is amazing,
I
dude.
love their company.
RCR, but they don't rely on a donor car, which I think
No.
is very cool. Like
I do
it's-
too.
you
I
get
like
your
a custom chassis.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
gets a custom chassis, whether that's a tube frame or whatever they're using. But yeah, I think that's the best part about those is they don't rely on a donor car. They don't rely that you're going to try to find something that's going to match your wheel width and your center to center
Right.
because it never matches up right. It just doesn't look right. And then to actually modify the frame to make it work is a whole nother can of worms.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of these I've seen guys do shorten the chassis or do certain things to make it fit,
Right.
for the stuff. So that's a lot. That's a big project.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're probably not gonna do that unless you've done many of them.
Well, and to
Yeah.
Grant's point, picking up somebody else's project, a lot of people just ignore that fact. You got to with the Fiero, you're supposed to lengthen it by 4 or 6 inches, something like that.
Yeah.
And the people that choose not to,
It just looks terrible.
it looks terrible. Yeah, your wheelbase is wrong. You've got your wheels are sucked into the wheel wells in the wrong angle, and it's just not right.
Speaking of, this is the one I wanted to bring up. Speaking of kit cars that you don't need a donor car from.
Yeah.
You just need drivetrain essentially.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the Ultima Evolution?
Yes.
I don't think I have.
Dude,
It's-
it's actually
cool car. That would-
remarkably
Ultima?
affordable for what it is, like compared to other cars.
That would be a car that I think Rob would like.
Drop that one in the group text.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to
right
see
here.
that one.
That's the one that's like mid-engine race car.
Super race car. It almost
Yeah.
looks like an old
Le Mans car.
Le Mans car, exactly.
Yeah.
But they're sweet. I mean,
I think the kit starts at like 35 or 40, but
Yeah.
they can go all the way up to
oh,
120.
and then there's ones for sale that are like $200,000, of course.
But the fact is, when they're done right and done well, you're getting a car that you're going to be taking on the track and taking names. We're talking big track taking
Yes,
names.
exactly.
So
because let me pull it up.
You're having a company that built a race car that you're building.
Yes, and it's well designed, and there's a bunch of guys that have made them over in the UK, and there's a bunch here too, which is cool.
There's one in Bend.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I saw one in Denver when I lived there. Almost 10 years ago, or maybe it was 8 years ago, whatever it was. Still, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
Just a great car, and the performance speaks for itself. And that's the kind of kit car I'd love to build.
Yeah.
Just something, and I like the replica stuff. I like the super performance stuff.
Oh, I have seen this car, and it is amazing.
It is. It's a beautiful car.
It really is.
And then the builds these guys do on their forum, they have a forum that's very active. And it's
Okay,
like,
I want one.
me too, bro.
Told you you would.
Yeah.
See? Isn't that the one?
So cool.
That's the one I'd build.
Yeah.
Yep. Le Mans
I know, for
style.
me,
Yeah.
if it was that,
The back end of that thing looks very McLaren-esque.
Exactly. Yeah, it's modern, right?
Super
Almost-
modern.
Yeah,
that
love
looks
that.
kind
I
of
mean-
the back end looks kind of like a McLaren F1 for the listener, if you've ever seen one of those. But then the midsection of the car is LMP
Yes.
style, LMP2
almost center seated.
center.
looking.
Yeah, center mounted seat. Is it not center mounted?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
They just made it look.
It does look like it though. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's badass. And then the front is very Porsche-esque.
it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Absolutely.
great
How much
job.
are they doing? How much are they
You
selling?
can get the starting
40.
kit, I think,
40.
for like 40 to 75, and
Yeah.
then
without the drivetrain.
yeah, but the
Yeah.
drivetrain's an LS motor.
Yeah, well, it's still that's another 20.
There's a couple guys doing different things, but yeah, mostly.
LS motor, and I think it's the G96 Porsche.
Yeah, it's a Porsche transaxle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like most of these kit cars. do.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I mean, they sell a one with like carbon arrow and obviously the full template for interior and like seat and like finished back or the panels behind the seats that you can finish to look like a finished supercar. I mean, then I think it gets up to like $150,000.
Yeah. But you're paying for it going.
But it'll look like a finished hypercar.
Yeah.
that's awesome.
But reeling back in,
Yeah.
I think because we talked about you don't want to pick up someone's unfinished kit car. What are you guys thinking about? Is it worth it for a person picking up an unfinished engine swap car?
Yes.
Do you think that would make a good first project? Or do you think?
It depends on how skilled you are or how much confidence you have. But I have bought unfinished swap project cars and had much success with them. Mm-hmm. But it also depends on how much time you have.
Yeah.
Because I went down rabbit holes of research. I bought a wrecked. It wasn't wrecked, I shouldn't say, but it was not running. It was like head torn off. JZX81 Mark II imported from Japan. This was back in 2014. Head was off. Shit was in the back. Mm-hmm. But it was a 1JZ car, factory, 1JZ GTE. The interior was rough. It did have a cage. But, and the guy was like, I don't know if it runs. And I'm like, it was so cheap I had to get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I put it all together with the stock twin turbos, and I got it running very terribly, but I still had it running within like 4 or 5 days.
I just realized something.
And it saved me thousands.
yeah.
Yeah. Grant's kit car hits both of those marks.
Which marks?
It's somebody else's kit car, and it's a fucking motor. It's
a basket
swap.
case. Total basket case.
It's a
Basket
rare
case.
car on top
Right.
of an unfinished kit car
and
with an
that's how I
engine swap.
And that's how I felt about mine. It was a basket case,
Yeah.
And when they're rare and cheap, it's hard to pass up.
Well,
It is.
and that's exactly why he didn't pass it up, and I don't blame him one bit.
It was that, and then the other
you just
factor.
don't know what you're getting
The
into.
other factor was that it was someone's last project. They passed away doing that.
Yeah.
And I promised the widow that I would have that thing running. And that was the one thing when we picked it up. I think you were there, Jeremy. Everyone told her.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there?
Nope.
You
afterwards.
took Dave.
Yes, I took David and I took Ryan. I took some of my friends, but everyone who would come to that house would say Grant's going to be the one to get that car finished. They would tell her that it's like.
And if you didn't have so many other things going, I'm sure you could.
yeah, it's
I
getting
mean,
there.
you're going to make it run anyway, but
yeah,
It's close.
yeah, yeah.
I had it running once.
What
It's
do the
driving.
wheels look like
Yeah.
up on it?
What do you mean?
What,
oh,
what, I,
Oh, that
I don't know.
chassis
I've
was
only
actually
seen, like-
stretched.
here.
okay,
I've actually.
so I was wondering.
Yeah.
about
No, I got some actual pictures. I sent to Josh. I'll give you. Look at this.
Yeah, so the chassis on that one was
I've
actually
only seen
stretched,
limited
so
pictures of this one. Ah, it
it
looks-
To
sits.
the left or right.
The wheelbase sits correctly underneath the wheel wells.
So,
on that car.
Ian, you're seeing that picture. We'll throw it up on our Instagram and on Facebook soon. But passing that up for what I got it for, and knowing that
been
she told me
foolish.
it ran before
Yeah.
he passed away,
That is sweet, dude.
It's a
that-
good looking car.
Oh, it really is.
It's
That's
hard
a
to
good
pass up.
replica, dude.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, I took it open and realized there was a lot he didn't get too.
Yeah.
And I've taken that to where mechanically everything is damn dialed in. Body wise, it still needs some work.
How is it to work
Yeah.
on? Just curious. Was it done right?
There's a ton of room.
No.
Yes.
So here's the thing.
There is.
There's a ton of room in the back. In the front.
Is it just cobbled together?
No.
Okay, good.
So, like, the one thing I found that was tough was everything, anything rubber had to replace.
Of course.
And I replaced all with polyurethane. Anything that was metal had to be sandblasted down and repainted so that
And
way
that was still all Fiero stuff.
all Fiero
You could
stuff.
still find it.
except for the engine. The engine's a Grand National Buick motor.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
They're cool.
And
Good motor.
Yeah.
the hardest part finding on that one is I got it up in the air, but the thing sits lower than a GT40. It's like 38 inches off the ground. I'm actually having trouble right now trying to figure out how to get in the wheel well because I can't physically fit under there. It's so tight. There's sections of the car because it's so big compared to, because that one had the V12. This one has the V6. That makes it easy to work on the engine. What makes it tough is everything else.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, coolant lines going through, having the front end because he got it barely on there. I took tube frame and welded like 2-inch square tubing to the front and then modified it so that way it'd be triangular and having way structural holding.
Yeah.
The front suspension, he cut that because, again, the front suspension was for 88 only. He never finished it and made it custom, so I had to finish making it custom how to fit, because it was all just tacked together.
Yeah. That was kind of what I was just curious of stuff you found like that.
Yeah.
He had a lot. Like the guy had mocked it up and was getting things in order, but it wasn't,
I'm sure if,
complete, I guess is the best way to
I'm
put it.
sure if Jack was still alive and I knew him, he probably would have given me a huge list of what to do. This is what you got to do, all that
For
jazz.
sure. That would have been cool.
But
I'm
him
sure he had it in his head,
Oh,
like
for
the
sure he
direction
did.
that he was going.
and him passing away, it's been interesting because it's been not only trying to discover how I'm going to find solutions, but realize that's what he was going for. And then
Right.
realize
Oh,
that
that's
was
cool.
the genius moment,
Yeah. Well, that's,
I found out-
special, dude.
Here's one thing I just found out recently. I don't know if it's good or bad. Taking off the bottom of the motor or the oil pan, I was looking up, and you could see the cam, and above the cam, you have the intake manifold, Well, on top of that, there's random sections of just like inch by inch sections cut out of it and like drilled out
On the intake?
on the bottom side. And he did that, I believe, for oil passageway.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I would imagine it'd be oiling.
Yeah. And I was like, and it's really rough, but it does what it does,
It's working.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a motor builder. Like
He was a
that
motor
was his
builder.
thing.
Yeah.
So-
Like he built drag cars.
Right.
So that's the other thing was like, I really want to get this engine going and just drive it because I want to see what he did to this engine.
Yeah.
I know it's got a cam in it. I know it's got performance heads into it. So this thing was built to go fast and
It'll be
built to be on
interesting.
track.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I can't wait, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully a couple of weeks, fingers crossed.
Well,
Knock on wood.
the funny thing is, just moving down our list of ideas,
Yeah.
was you kind of covered it, the challenges of taking over that project, or the challenges you're going to run into, even if you pick up that Fox body for $2,500 that has,
Yep.
who knows what.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not somebody else's project car, but that challenge of rusted out door hinges and
Or rusted car. Or,
Yeah.
Or rusted
Floor
out
pans.
window corners.
Yep.
Or whatever.
yeah.
Or, hey, when you stick the key in the ignition, you got to pull it out just a little bit
To get it
before
to
you
turn?
Oh, corks, you're going to have 100 of them.
Well, here you go. So my Corvette, the ignition key won't come out.
Oh, perfect.
I'm like,
No.
I
So I'm
can't-
gonna take that to dinner. That sounds like a great car.
Well, it doesn't start either, but there's
when
that.
it does.
Yeah.
when it does.
I can't figure out yet how to get the column apart so I can get the key cylinder out of it. Yeah. So those
Yeah,
are just those.
and that's what I'm saying. There's corks,
things.
right? And it's like anybody listening that is like thinking about getting a project car, do not think that you're not going to find 50 of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You are going to find them, and it's just tackling a couple things at a time,
Yep.
doing this and that. What can you live with too?
Well, yeah. And or how long?
How long
Maybe
can you
short
live
term
with?
you can live with a few little idiosyncrasies or whatever. But
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And making a plan of how you're going to tackle the project. And that's something I've been, I'm pretty good at planning stuff out, but just walking around the car, looking under the hood, opening the doors, looking
Yep.
under the dash, this and that. Where do I need to start? Like, what's your base plan?
Exactly.
Like I told the guys I put a battery in it, brand new charged up battery, see if anything would come on. I got zero.
Damn.
Nothing. And I'm like, oh, okay. So look for the fuse panel.
Fusing.
It's up underneath the driver's side dash. It's not easy to get to.
No.
Yeah.
Pretty corroded under there. So I'm like, well,
course.
there we go. That's where we're starting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Try to get power to this
Knock,
thing and
go from there.
yep, and go from there. See what's happening. Trace it back to the battery, and it's part of the project.
It is
part of the
And
process.
That's kind of fun.
It is
part of the fun.
The discovery
if
and the
you-
little wins too. Like once I actually get things to power up, I'm sure I'll blow all kinds of shit doing it.
Sure.
I can be pretty careful with that, so we'll see. But,
Right.
it's the little wins. Like even the first thing I did, the passenger side door handle didn't work from the outside. Worked from
Right.
the inside.
Last time I saw it, it didn't work.
Right. So I was able to, it was a bitch, but I was able to pull it out because actually trying to get it to open, I bent the rod on the inside of the door. I found behind the seats 2 brand new door handles. I'm like, okay, somebody knew what was up.
Yeah.
So I put one of those in, straightened out the rod, but there is no room to get inside that door to work on it. So I'm in there with like needle nose pliers trying to get the clips to go back on and
Yep.
get everything lined up.
I've been there.
It was a bitch, but I got it and it works great
See?
now.
Sweet, dude.
And that's the little wins. You're
Yeah.
like, yes, I fixed something.
It's a metal handle, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
See, that's nice because on the Toyota crap I'm used to working on, it's all
all
plastic.
plastic.
Crap.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Then
all
give it
metal.
some age and it'll break.
Exactly. Wait 5 years, it'll break again.
Right. Good.
I wanted to rewind real fast because we were talking about taking over people's projects and not worth. That shouldn't be a good first project. Jeremy went through that.
He did.
That was
I don't
that
know.
your first like full on project? Was the Porsche?
No, that was like my third probably.
Okay.
So
I don't know that wouldn't have been a good first project. You just need more time.
Right.
I would have needed more time.
Yeah. But you took it over after some.
I actually think that would have been a really good project.
Yeah.
It definitely needed a motor rebuild, and probably not even a full rebuild, just the gaskets.
For the listeners, just knowing this was a 1977 Porsche 924.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in good shape. Had decent paint on it.
That had the best
little bit of
interior
rust,
of any
but not a
Porsche I've
bunch.
seen. For that
Really
age,
for era.
that was perfect.
Yeah, actually, it was really clean for
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, the problem was when we got it fired up, it pissed oil out of the side of the block, and I was like, "Well, that's got to go."
Yeah. That was the
What I was
end of it.
stepping into.
And that was kind of a bummer too.
I
like,
know.
Big
end
time
of that
bummer.
project, but
Yeah. The 64 Ford I had, that one would have been a really good project too, but I didn't have time for it. I wanted to turn that one into, basically I wanted to come and swap it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that would be a cool swap.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like those diesel swaps in trucks that didn't have them before.
Yeah.
And you put a new gen diesel in something. I think
Yeah.
it's pretty fucking cool.
Oh,
I,
it's
I wanted to even
My
just
buddy
do the
Joel
old
has a
12
cool
valve.
Cummins swapped
Yeah.
Chevy,
Oh,
old OB or the square body.
okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
freaking sweet,
It's
dude.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It catches you off guard. It'd be like, oh shit, that's a diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Especially a Cummins. in
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been perfect in that. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to do body off onto a new frame or if I wanted to drop a Cummins directly
Into it.
Yeah.
Body swaps are sweet.
I think it would have been
Yeah.
better body swapped because it would have had
Put it on
better
the old
suspension, better brakes, better
Great
motor.
chassis.
But the
And
old
you get
body
the
on a
better-
new chassis.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I follow this page on Facebook that's all about body swap.
Yeah.
You know, they basically old chassis or old bodies and new chassis.
It's called Body Snatchers.
No. Jesus. It's a fascinating page. I think it's just called Body Swaps and
You got to watch out. Body
Unibody
snatchers
swap.
could bring up some stuff you don't want to see.
Oh, cover the speaker. The mic. Yeah, no, it's cool. You see some fascinating stuff. There's guys that have done some incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Just putting an old body on a new car.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice, dude. I'd love to do something like that too.
Hey, will you scroll down on that a little bit? Thanks.
I know there's a company I really want to do, and that's the thing we've talked about before. I really want to take a excursion and swap it onto a new F-250. There's an entire company that will build you a brand new, quote unquote, brand new excursions that way. They take,
Oh, swapping.
yeah,
Body
they
swapping?
swap a whole excursion on. They do an interior swap and everything else, but you still have the F-250, you know,
New chassis.
new chassis.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
You know,
I believe
still
it.
having the new dash of the F-250 and stuff, but you have the seats and the stuff with the excursion. Or you could go, you know, still F-250 seats.
Yeah.
You just have the body of excursion. I think that'd be cool.
The body of an excursion with all brand new stuff inside would be
So good.
sweet.
That is sweet.
Yeah.
You know,
I do know a guy that
I'd rock that Ford.
I do know a guy that come and swapped.
Make an exception for that.
Yeah.
An excursion.
That'd be good.
And it came out.
Come and swapped an
really nice.
excursion.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew a guy
Well,
that
you could get him in a Power Stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew a guy that
Yeah.
did that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, James. He lived out in Estacada. Yeah, it's a freaking sweet swap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tons of power too. Mm-hmm. Even compared to the 7.3 that they came with.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so along those lines, and we've kind of touched on it a little bit, the community that's going to help you get through that.
Especially hard projects and not hard projects.
Oh, Jesus, all of
it.
All of it, really. But, for the new guy, I think he needs to lean on that. You got to lean into that shit.
Yeah.
Start making yourself get into those communities and start asking questions.
You know how he does that? He follows another car project Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Follow
Maybe.
our socials.
I mean, follow the socials. Start asking questions. We don't have a lot of questions. Got a fair amount of posting, but
This goes back to the old show I had, the Man Box podcast. Okay.
the man with the box.
Yeah. It's the Man Box.
I know.
And
I just
the theory behind that was you don't have to know everything,
no.
but know somebody that knows how to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. That's community, right?
Yes.
So
It is.
it's knowing where to turn. We all know a handful of people. Even if you think that you don't have a lot of friends or whatever, it's not entirely true. Acquaintances count, right? Somebody asked me a question, and this happens at work all the time. I may not know the answer, but I know who to ask. And if they don't know the answer, they know who to ask.
Exactly.
And that's where you daisy chain that community together. And you can get great information, great answers. And people are willing. Just
100%
ask the
willing.
question.
I mean, and I feel
Don't
like
take it all on yourself.
especially in 2024, everybody's blessed with the idea that we can find a community. And it's easy to find a community. When I was young, even just 20 years ago, it was so much harder to find a community.
It was.
You had to put yourself out there. You couldn't just roll the
Keyboard
dice
warrior?
online. You couldn't just shoot them a message. You
Right.
had to literally go up to people and be like, man, tell me about this.
Yeah.
Can I hang out with you? Do you know anything about these cars or whatever? It was harder to do.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
forums were alive and well, which was nice, but almost everybody lived in different cities.
Yep.
So it's not like you can actually form a real
bond.
physical bond or community.
Right.
Now it's like you get all of it.
Yeah.
You get the community online. You get the know-how. You can meet people like-minded locally or even regionally.
Yep.
And it is important. It is important, especially for people that are just coming into cars, to find that.
I agree.
Because I feel like those first few years are paramount to how serious you're going to take it or even finish your project.
Yeah. I think it's kind of crucial. And I think the other side of that is share what knowledge you have. It may not be much,
Right.
but somebody needs it, right?
Oh, they
Somebody's
need
going to
it.
ask those questions. If you go on the forums, you look up and somebody actually has, say, a similar issue that you're having with your car, and it works. It fixes what you got going. Get back in there at your leisure, but repost and say, hey, man, that really worked. Thanks for helping me out. Thanks for posting that. I think that's really important to, respond. Like it shows that it helped. That guy that answered that question somewhere, he's like, oh, it actually did help somebody. I think it's really important. It's another avenue, another side to it, right?
So, I mean, as far as finding the community, I think it's much easier now than it was back, like when I first got my 64 Ford from my dad.
Yeah.
The community was different, right? It was, you had to know a guy who knew a guy. And,
For sure. Yeah, it's that.
Which is where the 6 degrees of separation comes in.
Yeah.
Watch your head, man.
Yeah, that looked
You're too
gnarly
tall.
right there. And whacked his head coming through the door.
Yeah, you had to know a guy that knew a guy that, knew how to do that thing. Or you had to go to a body shop and talk to somebody and see if you could.
Which is also not bad. I mean, I like to see more face-to-face interaction with people. Forums can get ridiculous. And you have to take the good with the bad. There's going to be shitty people out there that are just, all they want to do is troll and be assholes.
Yep.
Ignore that,
Yeah,
and
please.
move on. And you'll get, there are more good people than bad out there. The bad ones are just assholes and can go away.
But no matter how you build your car, what project you choose, anything like that, there's going to be haters.
There is, yeah.
Always.
You're
So-
going to do something that guy doesn't like, and he's going to be vocal about it online as a keyboard warrior.
And then
Eh,
there's a chance
Let
that
it
they
go.
might be jealous of it.
Yeah.
very good chance.
So another good place that I found for actually talking to people about cars and building that community is swap meets. Puyallup, Washington does that huge car swap meet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Swap meet every year.
Yeah.
There's thousands of booths get set up in there.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think that's a great place to build community and
Yeah.
like you find like-minded, not just in the car community, but in the very specific genre that you're looking at,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, those people are going to be there
and there's
Yes.
a little bit of everything in there.
for sure. And talk to the old timers, dude. Those
hell
guys got so
yeah.
much information. Oh, and they're not online. So you gotta,
they're not.
you gotta
They're
face to face with those guys.
Gotta go
Their
to
brains.
the beaches.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and
Gotta go to
they're
those
happy
types
to
of
talk to
meets.
you.
They are.
That's the great part, right? So put yourself out there, I think, is the key to that, right?
It is.
So you guys want to shift into the last gear here?
Yeah,
do it.
The things we found on Facebook and stuff.
Let's look at, let's highlight some projects.
Okay.
So yes and yes.
Okay.
And Grant, I don't know, you sent like 15 of them
Sent
today.
5.
I only asked
Sent
for
5.
2.
Yeah,
Well, they're all interesting.
yeah. I thought they were all interesting and
All
all
right.
purpose. The first one I knew Ian would like.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, let's get into that one.
Okay.
We are looking at
Oh, yeah.
BMW 2002. And
Ooh,
I
a 2K2.
absolutely love these cars. 76,
too.
by the way, for all the listeners. It's not the year 2002.
Right.
That is the
Chapter.
model. And that color is just fabulous.
I really like those.
Me too, man.
This car is in a really good condition all the way. The body looks good. The interior's there. The only thing it's missing is an engine.
And no, it's got a transmission.
it
Okay,
a
yeah.
trans-
It looks
yeah.
like it, yeah.
So, like, my thought was this is a car that either someone could restore to back to pristine or they could turn it into a race car. Because the other thing that's interesting about it is they want $3,000 for it. And I know it's hard to find those years for that kind of price again.
They
correct?
are very rare. My buddy Blaine, who helped me do a bunch of work on my car body-wise, he's a great body guy. He had a 2002 when I was younger, and I absolutely fell in love with it. He let me drive it probably 10 to 15 times to the store, to the grocery. He was just a neighbor to me. And I just loved the way that car felt. And they're cool.
Yeah. I've never been able to drive one. I've seen a bunch of them at track days, actually.
Yeah.
They bring them out like,
Yeah.
they're not super competitive, but it looks fun as shit.
Yeah.
They're so fun, dude.
Yeah.
And the styling of it it's
I like
timeless.
the styling.
For those wondering about
It's
this,
Kind of
timeless.
boxy.
it's,
Boxy. It's almost
with
like the
big
Datsun
headlights.
510 era
Yeah.
Exactly.
car.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a little more Euro feeling and a little more rounded in the corners, kind of like a Mercedes.
Yeah.
But
Not as big.
no, not nearly as big. They're actually very tiny and light.
Okay,
So this one's in Sherwood, Oregon.
thank you.
For
Okay.
$3,000.
$8,000. Does it run?
No,
No motor.
it's a motor.
Okay.
So, and no fuel tank.
K2.
That's right.
Yep,
What?
2002.
2002, yeah.
BMW 2000.
Yeah. So I think that was the first one that caught my eye that I'm like, okay.
That's cool.
sounds like this.
Love that.
Yeah.
Let's go down the list.
I saw you sent 5.
Yeah.
Did.
Did you fucking count?
Yeah.
That says 2.
Okay.
I talked about
Two.
the first one though, so that's one of mine.
Okay.
it.
Okay,
That's
I'll
fine.
take it.
Check out the second one. I think all these I found were pretty good.
Okay.
I was looking at mine.
All right.
You don't get 5.
Okay.
Well, that was one of mine.
Okay.
Again.
You better take another one.
The next one, on the list is a 1955 Plymouth Belvedere, and the reason it's on it is it's got patina on it, but
That's-
it's all there.
That's moss.
Yeah, we're gonna call it.
Oh, they did.
patina.
They
This was
did
a
show
barn,
it washed.
This was a barn find.
Yeah.
That was in the barn for over 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
And they're asking only 30. They're less than $4,000 for it.
Yep.
grand.
Just under $4,000.
And it looks like an all their car. So like if you're looking for something like you don't need to get all the intermediate rare small parts,
Yeah.
it's all there.
It does
It's
look like it's
cleaning
all
up
there.
the body, and even if it doesn't have an engine, you got most of everything else there for a good project.
I
start.
actually,
Well, and it's a V8.
It's a
original
V8 car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
I actually think if you took a little bit of soap and water to that moss, it would come off probably.
Oh, they washed it off.
through. Yeah,
Yeah.
they washed it. Yeah.
Did.
Okay.
So that's what I'm.
The interior, I mean,
yeah, they
the
sure
seat's
did.
got a blanket
Cover
or
on
something
it.
on it, but like the dash
Looks great.
looks good.
It does look good.
Yeah,
45,000 miles.
that's amazing. Yeah, 1955 Plymouth Belvedere. For
I think if
39
anyone's looking for a 50s car that's
Tacoma.
a project but not too big a project, like someone who's in high school or early college and they want something that is actually obtainable to be a running driving project soon, I think this would be a good one.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think it's a retirement project. I think
Yeah.
it's for the guy that just retired and he wants to restore a car.
That too.
Yeah.
I think my
Yeah.
dad would be perfect for that thing.
Yeah,
But this is why I found this on the list and put that there for what I found today.
no, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I mean, it's no lie. You can find the 4-door variants of these cars for very inexpensive prices.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much any of these old 4-doors, they're always going to be half the price, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the sedans, especially if you're just lowering them and
Oh, I
getting 'em
agree.
fast.
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
never understood that.
just running this one as stock is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's blue with white for the
Oh,
listeners.
yeah.
Should we move on to the next one?
Yep. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Next one.
You're letting him do all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Jeremy, you ready for this?
I'm looking at it and I'm not impressed.
1962 Thunderbird.
Not impressed.
Not a
For
fan.
older cars today.
That's
a super boat.
That's grandma's, dude.
I like this car.
Well,
At
I mean,
least it's V8.
What they're not showing you
Two-door.
is the entire bottom is rusted out.
Probably. My thought was it's $1,500.
Very patinaed.
If it's all there, like I'm looking at potentials and projects.
No, you're right.
$1,500.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$1,500 is a good deal.
It is.
Unless the entire floor pan is rusted out. And then it's not such a good deal anymore.
Well,
But you can buy new floor pans.
you can, and that's
can,
what I was
but-
just. It depends on.
They're
Honestly, the body looks straight and not
Yeah.
too bondoed by the just by the
It looks
looks of
pretty
it.
good. There's a few marks on the passenger
I
side.
saw the door.
Yeah.
But look
that
at
would
the
be
hood.
worrisome.
Yeah.
The hood's got rust on it.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
surface rust.
Surfaced.
Yeah, it's surface rust, but on the bottom half of the car,
Who
it
knows?
is not going to be surface rust.
I mean, $1,500
You don't
it's
know.
worth a
You don't
look.
know. If
Yeah.
it's spent its whole life in California, it could be surface.
Okay, yeah, I could give you.
Oh, we forgot to say what the last
could
one.
be.
This one's from Lakeview, Oregon for the Thunderbird.
And
And
so
the
that's
last Bonneville
I
was
think that's
the,
pretty good.
the
could
Plymouth
be.
is in Tacoma, Washington.
If not, $1,500 will get you scrap money.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, and you could probably pull that motor and sell it for something. And
$1,500 you could part it out to people that
I
need
think
those
for
body
$3,000.
panels.
And
Holy
scrap the rest.
shit!
at least $3,000.
You'd get
You could double your money.
oh gosh, yeah, more than that.
So the next one, it's a non-running, but it's got parts there. And these cars are trying to find were ones that the body looked in decent shape.
Yes.
That's fair.
So this one's
Inline six.
1952 Dodge Corvette for $1,000.
It's
That's-
missing a head.
Incredible.
That
Missing
is
a head.
surprising.
But you have the full bench. I mean, it's the interior
Manual car.
is dirty, but you've got a bench seat there.
Manual car.
You know, all the
cool.
gauges are there. Manual car. You know,
The battery in the
straight
trunk.
6.
It's old.
You know, I believe they probably still have the head because they said they took the head off.
Yep.
But
That'd be nice.
There's a
probably
fan
just
and a
a
head
look in there.
gasket in the trunk.
The thing is with this one, it's $1,000 project, and you're not doing much body work, maybe painting, but you're doing more of cleanup and doing more, engine work on this one.
Yeah. I mean, you can
That's
get
a
it
decent.
running
Yeah, you know what? That's a decent project for $1,000.
for $1,000.
You know,
Jeremy,
somebody,
you want to talk about the last project?
That's worth
I
it.
know what you're going with this.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you on it? Are you guys on it?
Well,
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Finish up where's that one? It's $1,000.
$1,000, and it's in Vienta, Oregon.
Veneta.
Bonita.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeremy, I want you to discuss the last one.
So I'm actually looking at the last one here. It's a
I
Ford
hate you right
Explorer.
now.
I knew.
Fucking
I
hate
The
you
second
right now.
one?
He did this for Rob.
The second one. Look
dick.
at the second one on the trailer.
Yeah, it's a goddamn JP car.
Oh
You are
my
the
god,
fucking
dude!
worst.
You can't let it go. How'd you find me?
Jesus
I
Christ.
can't believe you found a Jurassic.
Dude, you went
Park
deep
400.
on this one.
Right?
Ford
I think he's
Explorer.
got like some search engine or some shit looking for all this stuff.
For the listener, we found a Jurassic Park Explorer for sale.
So me and Rob both love Explorers, and then on top of that, It's the Jurassic Park
Yeah.
version of it.
It's a
which we all
Mercury
know.
Mountaineer.
Oh, dude.
Oh
Yeah.
my god!
Mercury
So-
Mountaineer.
Okay.
So I will say real quick, they did make a 5-speed 2-door Explorer.
Did with the 5.0.
That would have been sick.
Yeah.
I would actually rock that Explorer. That's it though.
Yeah.
5-speed 2-door.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, chicks will just flock to you.
Absolutely.
When you're driving that.
chick magnet.
Yeah.
Would you guys believe me if I waited the whole episode for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
I
actually.
do believe that.
I know you look
Absolutely.
We asked
all
you
week.
not to discuss it, and then you waited till the punchline,
Yeah.
and that was that. I got to get into Rob's here.
Dude.
Rob posted a freaking badass
ready to
Right?
Ford Courier
That thing is so cool.
1974, and it looks to be in fabulous shape.
Phenomenal.
Well taken care of. The motor is
What
frickin',
engine
I
is
could eat
that?
off that. It's a single cam. I think it's a
Dual
hemispherical.
Oh, yeah. Overhead cam.
Overhead
4-cylinder.
cam. Yeah, it's still a 16 valve, I think, right? Yeah, single cam 16 valve.
That's a really nice car.
That
Yeah.
thing is sweet.
Sweet.
It has disc conversion.
It's got a Weber carb. The paint actually looks
It
fantastic.
says original
dude.
paint.
Yeah, and it looks
That's amazing.
so good.
Wow.
It is amazing.
And
That's-
it's 4-speed manual on the floor, bench seat, but it's got a separated column,
Yeah.
which is sweet. It just looks amazing,
Yeah, I'm
and I love
stunned
the
at this little
clamshell
car.
hoods.
Yeah, it's $9,500
I can't believe that's
in
original paint.
Monroe, Washington. Is that? I think it said Monroe.
Yep,
Yeah.
Monroe.
Monroe, Washington, 1974 Ford Courier
Wow.
in immaculate condition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so I
that's,
think these were actually sold under Ford, but they were like Mitsubishi or something.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they were
Wow.
licensed. They were great.
Yeah, they
Great,
were. They
yeah.
were really stout
Great
little truck.
Great little trucks.
Yep.
Yeah. So believe it or
a
not,
good find,
they
Rob.
were licensed under something else. But man,
Yep.
that's a great example.
I know that would be fun as shit to drive.
It would, and you'd
so
turn heads everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's got a perfect amount of low on it.
Yep.
You know, he didn't do
Love the
great.
white walls.
Disc brake converted. Yeah, you
they're
just-
asking 95 for it. Do you
Yep.
think they're going to get that, or do you
I
think
do.
someone can get it for lower?
I do.
I think they'll get right
It
there.
only has 50,000 miles. Rebuilt original motor, custom header, Weber
It's
carb.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Well, it says-
it's slammed.
Yeah, I guess it is 50,000 miles on that.
Yeah, it's got the moon disc, center caps.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Might keep an eye on that one, see if it sells.
Seriously.
Yeah. I only picked the one, so
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know. If
I don't have
anybody else.
anything.
Okay.
What about you, Jeremy? Did you pick one?
I have two. I was trying to get them dropped into the chat. but
Okay.
It's
It's fighting you. Okay,
here
so
we go. Here it is.
all right.
Here's the first one. Open that sucker up,
There we go.
and I'll get the second one.
Talked all about
that's
projects
right.
for people getting into, and now we're talking about projects they should buy.
Oh, wow. That's sweet.
I the year is incorrect.
That
The
definitely.
year is incorrect on that one.
Ooh.
And it looks to be that it's been there for a long time. Mm-hmm. At least 5 years.
All right, so what we're talking about is a Unimog. Explain what a Unimog is.
So,
I knew it was 10 years ago.
British military vehicle. They back in the 70s or something like that decided to start using them as farm vehicles.
Big 4-wheel drive.
Big 4-wheel drive. They're like deuce and a half, deuce and a quarter, 4-wheel drives.
All kinds of options for utility beds.
Yes.
Flatbeds, box truck,
Cranes,
Yep.
crane trucks.
winches, tow beds.
This one's got an
It's kinda
interesting cab situation.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the cab leaning forward like that.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like a tractor.
Yeah,
I like all the
does.
lights on
And
it,
I don't mind that.
It looks a little bit like I don't know if you've seen those trucks that they use in like shipping where they're use them for temporarily moving trailers around.
Yeah,
and that
the
kind of
yard
stuff.
dogs.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks a little bit like that.
It
It's a
does.
Mercedes.
100% does. Yeah,
It is a
Mercedes made them.
yeah.
I will say this: the one thing it kind of gives me vibes of is Snowcat. Mm-hmm. Like,
Yeah, the cab.
The cab
Yeah, the
does,
cab
yeah.
does.
The leaned forward cab
Yeah.
looks definitely something like a yard dog or a snowcat.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
But I still don't hate it, especially if it
Oh, it's
wasn't.
kind of neat looking.
If it was black,
Oh, that would be
yeah.
mean looking.
dude, that
That'd
would
be really cool.
Sweet.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
All right. So we don't know what year it is because the year apparently is typoed.
It says it ran 10 years ago.
Ran when parked. I love that.
So I don't know what year it is either, but the $10,000 price mark on it is actually pretty good for even
sure.
a non-running Unimog.
It does say the rear axle brakes are locked up.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really.
But you know what?
So
that can be fixed.
the ad says, no, you can't try to get it running on the property before you buy it.
Well, see, that's a red flag too.
Yeah.
It is.
Because what's it going to sound like?
it's probably toast.
Well, it's
Well,
probably just.
He said it ran 10 years ago. He's
Yeah,
not
but-
saying it runs.
I know, but why can't I get it running? Why wouldn't you want
on
me
property.
to? If you don't want it, what do you care what I do with
Maybe
it?
he doesn't want oil or something. All over
That could
Well,
be a thing.
but I don't know. That's also a red flag to me.
Yeah.
Personally, because I've bought cars that I've got them running, and they're like, "Did you bring
Oh,
a trailer?" I'm like,
he
"No,
says-
I didn't bring a trailer."
He says before buying it, can I get it running after I buy it?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay,
Maybe.
Okay,
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a different story.
Yeah, a little bit. So it was listed 3 days ago in Clackamas, Oregon. I think that would be a cool project. I mean, 10 grand, I don't know. Unimogs are extremely expensive,
But they're
Very,
versatile.
very expensive.
but it would be a neat project.
It would be cool.
You guys should see the second one.
I like that one better.
I like the second
The
one.
98 SNS or Stewart and Stevenson.
This is the second one, too.
M1078.
Yeah.
These are
So,
freaking awesome.
Another
This one was
Unimog.
running.
It's basically a Unimog.
It's like a more updated.
Oh, it's
an American version.
It's the military
Yes.
Yeah.
Unimog. Yeah.
And American made, right?
I like it
think,
too.
Who made them? Oshkosh or somebody, I think. I mean,
Nice.
Stewart
So-
and Stevenson, but I think they were manufactured by a few different people,
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
if I remember correctly. And
Yeah, this-
our military listeners will correct me on that, but I
This
do
one
believe
says
that's
25,000 miles, diesel.
street legal.
It is street legal
With a
It's
cat
got
motor.
Caterpillar motor. New batteries. No regrets. So
Sick.
No rag rats.
No
So
rag
that,
rat.
this one's got a $15,500 price tag, and I think
It looks worth
worth it.
Yeah.
it dropped 10 grand. in the last
Extend.
one.
It did.
It did.
Extended cab too. That's sick.
That thing is awesome.
Dude.
I think you should buy it.
That's the kind of thing you ride your horse up to, jump on, beat a bunch of Nazis, and then kick the driver out the
No,
front.
I think this
Well,
is
that's
the one.
That's very.
I think this is the one that like I change the oil in and drive it to Alaska.
That's what
Yeah.
I was.
No,
gonna
I
think.
think you should, Jeremy.
You
I think you should. Probably
got
not
a
with a
center-
full of Nazis.
Got a center jump seat. Do you want to say what you're referencing?
Indiana Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because otherwise, you're just talking about Nazis, you dipshit. Jesus Christ.
Twice.
And I love the interior.
Yeah.
I honestly do. It's so just absolutely just
Look how big the air
Basic.
Basic,
tanks are.
utilitarian.
utilitarian. That's the word. Thanks,
The
Rob.
thing is awesome.
It's so sick, and
Yeah, I really
dude,
like it.
imagine just being in that, just cruising up north. And what is that? An escape door on the top? A turret?
probably.
yeah,
turret
I was
door?
looking at that
I
too.
think you can
Dude.
stand up out of it and shoot.
Oh
things.
my gosh,
That's
that's
kinda
sweet.
It is so cool.
Do you guys see it's got 6 batteries and those air tanks are just giant?
Yeah, and it's got
So it's got
obviously
air
look at
brakes.
those
So that's
tires.
gonna be a rough
And
ride
it's
all the way to
probably got
Alaska.
Here's-
air-filled tires like a
Have to
Here's-
load it.
Yeah.
Humvee or
Here's
a
the
H1.
The
era.
expense, I think, with that vehicle is going to be the tires.
Oh yeah.
So you could get
Yeah,
it
it
cheap,
definitely
but
has
it's probably
it definitely
10,
has
15
air
grand
tires too. You can see it on the rear view on the passenger side. Mm-hmm. They got that air hose going into the tires.
Oh yeah, they do. You can see it on the
that's
front
sick.
too.
They'll air up and air down.
Yeah, I mean that's freaking awesome.
I bet those.
Hey, they're not
tires
dry
are-
rotted, so good to go.
Yeah, I bet those
Take
tires.
it to Alaska, dude.
Yeah,
I bet those tires are like 45, 47-inch tires.
I think so.
We
Yeah.
can see it is a
47.
35.
Oh, is it?
5, yeah.
Yeah, if you
No.
zoom in.
Yeah, it didn't look that big.
35-inch.
What?
And he replaced the fronts.
They look
with
bigger than
Goodyears.
that.
That's not
He
35s
he
aren't
replaced
bad.
the
Then.
fronts with Goodyears, so you
I
could
bet those
definitely do
are-
the rears with Goodyears.
I bet those are $500 a pop.
yeah,
those
that's
tires-
not still not
Yeah.
bad.
No, that's all right.
That is only what is
Better
there?
than-
Is there
Honestly,
four
$1,000
tires on
bucks.
the back?
$1,000
I
a
think
pop.
it's
wouldn't
4. Yeah, it's a
surprise me.
dually.
Yeah.
It is a dually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd
Those
still
are
rather
only
do that
35s.
than get a freaking deuce and a half tire. I don't know what that costs, but those things are huge.
They're like
Yeah.
$900 a piece. I just
Yeah.
had to place a semi-truck tire this week.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
But they probably would last.
That's
me
pretty sick.
20 years.
I think you should buy that.
Yeah.
That thing is awesome.
Yeah,
It's definitely not off the table.
Until you tell your wife.
Your old lady's gonna love it.
Yeah.
So for
Hey, baby, look at this jump seat. You get to ride to Alaska in.
Oh no, I'll make her fly.
Yeah.
The dogs are gonna ride with me.
There you go.
Yeah, they'll fit
That'd
right
be
in
fun.
there. Yeah.
So for our listeners, also, this is in Vernonia, Oregon.
Oh, perfect, dude. Right up the road.
Well, now you got to hurry because now the listeners know about
and
it.
especially 10
Well,
grand off the price.
I've got like till Sunday.
Yeah. You do. Yeah. Till Sunday morning.
I think we found
God, I
some
hope
good
you do
projects this
this,
week,
Jeremy.
guys. I think we found some really good projects.
Good projects.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Coolest thing you saw this week?
Going back to just touch on the idea of the Vipers and the motors and the V10s that they had developed with Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I saw a video of a R8
Love
that
me an R8.
Autopia.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if you guys know those guys. I mean,
Yep.
almost all
Disneyland?
of our listeners. They covered this car this week, and it is just insanity. I think it's 3,000 crank horsepower.
Oh, my gosh.
All the guys, and they filmed all of them. They put all the guys in it. They didn't just do the one host. They put the film kids in it, and they just gave them rips in it.
Really?
It's just
Wow.
like ungodly.
Wow.
And they're just it's nuts. 2,500 of the wheel
At the wheel.
at the wheel, and it looks pretty much stock.
Wow.
The guy
Does it
who
come with
built
Iron Man?
it, dude. It's just I was
I'm going
shocked.
to start
And,
throwing things at you.
dude, it just the sound, the
Yeah.
vibe. I saw that, and I was just like, that's a lot of power. But
right,
it's
so-
still based on that V10 Lamborghini motor
Yeah.
that they ran.
Twin
'Cause it's-
turbo? Is that
this
what
is
they
a-
did?
Yeah, it's a V10 twin turbo.
Okay. God damn.
And
2,500 at the wheel.
but we see that with the Vipers.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the only street cars you see with a
3,000
stock
horses.
block
3,000
or a stock
horsepower.
motor,
Yeah.
3,000 horsepower.
Yep. Yeah, it's
So-
insane.
I mean, that's why.
Did they go top speeds with that? What did they do?
No, they're just doing pulls.
Okay.
And they're just doing, fast, like 4-gear
Yeah.
pulls.
What's
It just looks
Did it say what their plan for the car is? Are they going to do like?
I watched I watched the
The
short
1 mile?
version. Oh, I'm sure of it. I watched the short version of it. I just watched the Instagram clips. There's like 2 of them on it.
Yeah.
And they showed the whole crew what kind of power this thing makes, which is the first video they've done that I think where they put everybody in the car just
Yeah.
one
Let
at a
everybody
time.
give them a run.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
So I found it interesting. I want a V10. So Rob, you got to get one. So
want
I
a
can live
V10.
vicarious
Yeah.
through you.
Yeah.
'Cause
I know. I bring it up a couple times a week, searching for it. And I think probably eBay. It scares me
yeah,
to buy one off eBay.
yeah, I get you.
So you got to get into some kind of Viper group and have some connections that way.
Yeah, if only my Viper friends would help me out.
Yeah.
hint.
Hint, 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 hint. You know who you are. Yeah. What do you got?
I think honestly, this is going to sound pretty in vain. I think it's the word it is, but I think the coolest thing I saw this week is bringing old pictures up of the Lambo when it was complete.
Yours?
Yeah,
Yeah, it does.
because
Look
it's
good.
I haven't seen that in a long time like that, and
Yeah.
I looked at pictures because I had a friend, one of our friends, asking for it, but
Yeah.
it just seeing that back together.
Yeah.
I see it.
You know,
That's the one you
because
showed me. Yeah, it looks
when
great.
me and Jeremy and Rob went to my shop and see it in pieces,
Right.
it's not the same. But when it's
different. No,
it's
together and
not.
on the ground,
Yeah.
it is a presence that's just like, whoa, this is badass.
Dude, of course.
You know.
And it's such a well done replica.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I mean,
looks
it
pretty
really
good.
does look insane.
It's a good 10-footer.
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially when you get it cleaned up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll look better.
Put some shine juice on the paint, even just for now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just something to shine it up.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
telling you guys this. Firing that thing up, it is one of the meanest sounding engines you'll hear.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm anxious to hear it.
yeah. I'm super excited to hear it up again.
That'd be
too.
cool. I actually saw 2 fastback Mustangs this week. 69 and a 67. 69 was actually driving in front of me for a few miles. I was like, that's kind of cool. You don't see a lot of fastbacks
No,
on
you
the
don't.
road.
You don't.
And then when it slowed down and turned off, I got a good side profile shot of it. I was like, oh, damn. See, that's
Was
getting...
it stockish?
Yeah, quite stock. Actually, I think it had stock wheels, like with the rally style.
Sure,
hubcap.
rally caps.
Yep. And you can kind of tell those because they were getting closer to the Mach 1 era. You know,
Yeah.
they changed the front end. I think the front of
So
those
elongated.
they're a little longer and they look bulkier and meaner.
Yeah, I
right?
thought so.
Yeah. And then, especially compared to like the 66, 67,
Of course.
they still had that grocery getter look.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They're a good looking car, but you kind of know what I mean.
Yeah, they were just more or basic.
More basic.
Just a
Yeah.
basic
Yeah.
pony car.
And then, once they got closer to when they rolled the Mach 1 out, they got a little beefier,
Definitely.
kind of like the look. Anyway, it was cool to see both of those were on the road.
Hood, the hood had that line that kind of went down. It was
Yeah.
like a bulge in the center of it.
Yep. Yep.
I thought that was great looking.
Yeah.
Touch, yeah.
Yep. I also saw today a 55 Thunderbird
Ooh.
in the rain, driving in the rain. I don't know if they got.
I think
mean,
they got caught in the rain.
It rained all day here today,
really
though.
did.
So I don't know.
Didn't stop till 15 minutes
hard.
before the pod.
Yeah, it was a seafoam blue with a
Let's
white
see, I
top.
like that.
I mean,
Wow.
it was a nice looking car. Maybe they drive it in the rain all the time, but
I doubt it.
yeah. Anyway, that was kind of
that's
cool to see.
sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
I do like that gen of T-Bird.
Those are not too bad.
They're
yeah,
not too bad.
When we got to whatever that 1970,
It was 67.
67,
No, it wasn't the 67. That was the 62.
62 was it?
was
Okay.
62.
The really long one. Like,
See,
I don't know
just
how
didn't-
they
I
went
didn't like
from.
the front end and the back end, how they went down.
Well, they're so long. They're 25 feet long or something.
Yeah,
how
they're-
did they go from in a 55?
car.
It was a
62,
very
yeah.
short car
55s are amazing.
to a 62 where it's like 22
The
feet.
55 was almost
So-
competing with the Corvette 1, right?
It was, yeah.
know-
I mean,
why?
it kind of looks wise,
Very
feel
much.
wise, size wise.
Very much.
You know why they did that, Rob?
Tell me.
Because
No, I don't-
back then cars in the 60s got bigger because we didn't have any SUVs. Trucks weren't really, they were farm trucks. You need to have a sedan for the whole family, for luggage, for getting groceries. That's why we got bigger cars.
Yeah,
I agree, but
I get it.
Thunderbird, though,
That was more
was-
of a grand touring car.
yeah,
It
it
was
didn't.
trying to compete with the European grand touring cars of the time, I think.
yeah.
Because it was a big coupe, right? And it had a giant hood and a
But
giant
like, okay, a
trunk.
55 is a two-seater.
Sweet.
62
That's a 2+2.
Is it a 55?
plus
no,
two.
a 55 is a four-seater.
is. I don't.
I believe so. Let me Google.
No, hell no.
It
It was a
looks
coupe,
pretty-
dude.
Yeah, I
Small
don't-
coupe.
exactly. Yeah, I don't think it had a 2+2.
I don't think
they're,
so.
They're too small for that.
I'm looking up.
Yeah, go ahead and look it up. But anyway, that's what I saw. It was pretty cool. Actually, got to see some stuff on the road this week.
Yeah,
you know.
you're
Some
right.
weeks
Yeah.
you don't.
It was
see
it was a two-seater.
Yeah, it was.
whereas
Wow.
I think all gens after that were 2+2.
Do you
Yeah,
think
which is
people
kinda
in the
weird.
50s and 60s, when they saw the Thunderbird do that, go from two-seat to fat, big, like four-door, it's what
Right.
Mustang owners went with the Mach-E?
Maybe.
Well, I don't think
Yeah,
it-
they're like,
I-
oh, they
That's jarring.
ruined it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
think the Thunderbirds were ever four-door.
No,
They were all two doors, but
Just
they
a
were
really long
four
two-door.
seaters.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say there's one gen of Thunderbird that I have a soft spot for. That's like
2002.
no, it's
Get out of here.
dude, get out of here. The like 87 through 91 SC.
Really?
With the Ford
SC, the Thunderbird
turbo?
SC. You remember
Yeah.
that? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was a V. What was it?
They made a turbo
V6
Ford.
supercharged.
Yeah.
V6
Oh, yeah, they
supercharged,
did.
5-speed manual. Mm-hmm. They didn't look too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I could pull one up.
Yeah.
That would probably surprise you, Rob.
Yeah,
but
no, I get it. I mean,
it was
actually, it's
okay, dude.
funny you say that because
I'm not a Ford guy, but I still liked those.
Right.
I actually went and looked at one when I was like 20, and I almost bought one.
they had the smaller oval rear window in those.
No, that was the 2000s.
no, dude.
That was
This was so
2000s?
much more
Okay.
80s vibe,
Okay.
dude.
It was kind of looked like a Mustang mixed
Yeah.
with a Mercury.
It was basically yeah. So let me
Yeah.
let me pull one up.
Yeah, yeah.
The reason I liked them was because it was V6 boosted, rear wheel
Right.
drive manual.
That was the 3.8 liter supercharged,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the same supercharger we're putting in Antonio's Mustang. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember this one, Rob? You got to remember this, dude.
All right. Send it over. What do you got? Well, we're.
I couldn't
Let's just
find
take a
it
look
again.
at it, dude.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they were manual.
I mean, that part's really cool.
So it's like they didn't make many. I mean, I'm sure they did back in the 50s and
Yeah.
60s, but
Yeah, yeah.
anything after like 70, I think this is the
Actually-
only manual Thunderbird they
Actually,
made.
like that version better
See?
than the
I'm
one that
telling
came
you,
after that.
That's the one I have a soft spot for.
Yep, I get you. Yep.
So I couldn't find it again, but over the weekend, my daughter and I were talking about a Volkswagen bus. Mm-hmm. And it had a Subaru motor in it.
Oh, that's sick.
It was
That's a cool
water-cooled.
swap. That's a cool swap.
Um,
Was it a Vanagon or the old ones?
no, it was an old one.
Okay.
So this thing was hacked. I mean, it was really, really well done. It was really nice, but they built it so the roof would open.
Oof, like a Westie.
Like camper.
Yeah, but side.
Yeah,
the
that's
side would
Westie.
open.
Well, that was
and
a factory
the
option.
whole side slid
sides?
out.
Yeah, it was just it tilted to one side.
No, he's talking about the
The
sides.
whole
lift up.
side would lift up, and the whole side of the van
side.
slid out.
Wow.
It was a bar.
Oh,
It was a what?
It was a bar.
my kind of van.
Mobile?
Cool. It was a
bar?
mobile
And it had a
bar.
Subaru motor.
Yeah. Well, they did that so they could drive it to and from weddings.
Events.
That's cool.
That's
That's
awesome.
freaking awesome.
We need
I
to
love that.
We need to rent them out and pretend we have a wedding.
I was trying to find it
So
again.
is
I
it
couldn't
for
find
sale or
We'll rent
somebody
it for
bought
your
it?
wedding.
Rent it for my wedding.
Actually, this one was for sale. And it was on Facebook Marketplace, and it had the business license and all the contacts and all that stuff was.
Oh, they were selling the business.
They were selling the whole thing. It was like 60 or 70 grand.
Yeah,
you can
that
find
sounds
it. I want to
about
see
right.
because that sounds like something like Arturo would build, something like very unique,
Very
like
custom.
that.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool to
Was
see.
It
that
does.
in our area or was that?
Yeah, it was here in Portland somewhere.
Wow.
That sounds.
Wonder if it
freaking
sold already.
awesome, dude.
Probably.
That's really cool. I would like
that.
to see that. Yeah, that's quite the custom build too. You know, last week we talked about for Jeremy his Alaska trip, what he wants to take up there, and we were talking about 4-wheel drive vans and this and that. Yesterday, I saw a 4-wheel drive Volkswagen van.
Nice.
Yeah,
The
pulling.
Vanagon.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that gen,
It's-
dude.
What were you saying? Is 90s?
It's like a mid 90s.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Diesel.
And that's when you brought up Subaru Swap. That's generally the ones I see them in. Is that mid '80s to early '90s Vanagon?
Yeah.
People do that Subaru Swap a lot. in
Is it for
those.
reliability?
Yeah, for reliability and power. I mean, you can
Yeah.
boost them too. I mean,
Yeah. Get a little better. Get
and
up.
I always like those too. I love how it's just a giant, basic box on wheels.
Yep. I like the 4-wheel drive aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Synchro.
That they did that.
Yeah,
So-
but those were really expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
They're
when
like
you get into the
60 or
4-wheel drive
70,000.
ones, they're insane.
Oh, shit.
You can get a rear-wheel drive one
Yeah,
for
they're
nothing.
pretty-
Yeah.
pretty cheap.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
the drive line on the front,
Yeah.
Because it's
the 4-wheel
rear engine
drive,
4-wheel drive.
that drive line is bigger around than most diesel truck drive lines.
I wonder why they did that.
I'm not sure. They're
There's
aluminum.
not many rear drive,
Maybe that's why.
rear engine 4-wheel drive vehicles
Gosh,
except
no.
for a Porsche.
Lamborghini.
Yeah, something like that. But that's a mid-engine. I'm
Yeah.
talking rear engine,
Yeah.
4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Half a
A
Lamborghini.
Porsche,
all-wheel drive.
a Carrera. That's about the only thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's the Vanagon Synchros.
That's pretty
Yeah.
sweet.
It was cool.
That's pretty cool.
Lancia, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe, but rear engine.
Yeah,
not
did that
mid-engine.
sit behind the wheels?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Vanagon
No,
did.
probably not.
Yeah. That's the difference.
It's a really rare layout.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. Guys, that's it for the week.
Perfect.
What do you say about that?
That's a good show. We need to tell them to follow
Good
us
show.
on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, on Untitled Car Project, Untitled Car Pro on Twitter, Untitled Car Project.
Should we just do this for him?
Yes.
He-
I'm bad with words.
Don't ask
I
me to
know.
do
It's
it.
early in the episode.
oh my god.
Let them try it.
He did it.
Untitled Car
And
Project
then all-
at gmail.com. Also on Facebook group, and
Discord,
Discord, and
Twitter,
no, Instagram.
Instagram.
There we go. Almost got it.
Also, don't forget we are going to SEMA.
We're going.
You better catch us there. Hit us up at. Tell us what you guys want to check out with you, or what you want to see if you're not going to make it.
Yep.
But we're going.
We're excited about that.
What questions you want us to ask
Yep.
and who you want us to visit?
Which vendors?
Yep. So please, I know this is the end of the episode, but hit follow on our podcast and give us a 5-star review. Also, you know what? Share it.
Yes.
Hit share on that and send it out to your friends. Maybe share it on Facebook or something. You know,
Subscribe.
hit another audience that we don't usually get to. That would be super helpful.
Also, real fast, big shout out for James Schoepf for coming back on our show. Or coming on our
Absolutely.
show. For High
James.
Octane Daddies.
High
Dads.
octane
Octane
dads.
Dads.
Check out their podcast.
Did you say daddies?
He did. That was a little weird.
Well, I saw that coming.
Leave it to
I'm
Grant.
good with
I
words.
saw that
adding
coming.
stuff.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys.
right.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
All right. Night. Bye.
See you later.